Welcome, welcome. How are we doing? I am ridiculously excited about today. We've got everybody coming in. We've already got, let's see, already 300 people just starting. We've got over 2,000 people registered for today's webinar on the Masterclass. And I have to say, I am incredibly excited for a lot of reasons today. I'm excited because, one, we got a special guest, somebody that I think you guys are all going to really, truly enjoy meeting. Let's make sure we're recording. We got that. Good. Do you want me to record on this side too, Ryan? Okay. Perfect. I'm going to record here as well. And we got, there we go. Let's see. There we go. We got a guest that's coming here, Drew, who you guys are going to meet. So make sure you stay towards the end because we've got some really, really fun stuff that's going to be happening. But I'm excited because I get to nerd out today. This is really going in deep around the concept around influence, the book, and all of the things that you have. If you've been following me, if you're not, welcome, by the way. I'm going to go into a little bit about who I am, but if you have been following the science and the neuroscience of influence, we're going to go in deep in understanding it. I've got 3 case studies that we're going to cover today that really break down, and I've never done that before. I've always sort of shown the videos of it before and after, but I've never really shown the true reasons as to why it's happening. And so I'm just really, really excited. And so let's make sure we get this all straightened up here. Where's everyone from? I wish I could see your faces, so I'm going to be depending on the chat feature here, so make sure you have your keyboard handy. And so let's see, we got Dallas, Minnesota. Who's in Minnesota? It's going too fast. Jay, awesome, man. Look at this. We got from all over the place. Love it. Where are we from? Man, this is fun. I love it when the chat lights up. This is something that gets me excited. And man, we've got so much fun today. And if you know somebody, by the way, that to you, and man, you're gonna love Drew. This guy works closely with Tony Robbins, Dean Graziosi, Grant Cardone, not Brendan Bouchard. I always get those two mixed up. Russell Brunson. And so we got Costa Rica in the house. This is super cool. So lots and lots and lots of really, really good things. So as we get started, I'm going to have a little bit of PowerPoint today, which means that I get the chance to actually go and draw some pictures. We're going to dive deep. And by the way, questions are welcome. Please, I'm going to do my best to keep up with them. If you guys are good, we're going to have, I've got a team of 4 people that are watching this. And just make sure that you ask the questions. If we don't get it the first time, ask it again. We'll try to make sure that we get back around to it. So for those of you who don't know me or know me, either way, my name is Rene Rodriguez. I've been doing this for a long time. This is going on 30 years that I've been doing this. And I have a passion for how the brain works. I've had a chance to work with some of the largest organizations in the world. And today I get to put all of that stuff together and share it with you in a deep dive on what's happening. I got a really fortunate opportunity to write a book last year that came out in April. And this was my life's work. We put it all into this book. And because of all of you, we got a chance to be number 2 Wall Street Journal bestseller, USA Today bestseller, Publishers Weekly bestseller, Amazon bestseller, and we were named one of the top 20 books of 2022 by booksummaries.com. In fact, our book summary, our audiobook hit in the top 200 worldwide. I mean, and the cool part, as our publisher told us, it takes about 2 to 3 years for a book to really take off. So we're a year into this process. And so, one, I'm excited. And I think probably what I'm most excited about the book is people, they say they've read it 2 and 3 times. They buy the book and they listen to the audio. They buy the audio and they also listen to the book because it was written for you to have as a reference guide and as a manual you can refer back to. And my nerd side loves the fact that we have an index. We spent weeks and months on putting that index together so you could have sort of the old school Google, choose anything that you want, and then come back and you can look in the back and say, oh, where did he talk about neuroplasticity? Oh, here it goes on page here. Or where did he talk about psychological safety? And it's all there. It's sort of the old school Google. And so last year, I spoke over 230 days last year. Yes, 230 days. Do the math. And some people say, well, don't you have a family? Yes, I've got 6 beautiful kids. Got a beautiful wife. And they said, well, what about them? I said, well, you can't always blame me, especially with my amazing wife. She's the one that booked them all. And it goes kind of into our concept of, I don't really believe balance is the goal. I don't think anybody's really ever achieved much balance and also achieved something big. We believe that we're doing something special here. And we also believe in what we call harmony. And that's where we both play a tune that we both agree. And together, those tunes come together to play something pretty cool. But our process of 230 days a year is, I'm getting kind of over that. But the reason is it's not having the impact that we want. And if this work is requiring me to be somewhere, we're not making the impact. And so we're doing things like this, so we get a chance to meet now over 500 people here in the room, which is getting super exciting. And so now I've been 230 days doing this. So everything that I'm teaching you here, by the way, is proven and relevant. And I think that's kind of an important piece. This isn't something that I read in a book. I wrote the book. This is not something that I'm thinking might work. I saw a Google ad on it. No, this is something I've been putting to the test with over 100,000 plus people. So we know that this works. And today, I'm going to be showing you exactly how all of it works. I've been able to share the stage with some pretty cool people. You see here, Grant Cardone to Ed Mylett, Gary Vee, the old school Jeffrey Gitomer, Tony Robbins, Tim Grover was just with Jocko Willink. I should have a picture up there. Brad Lee, my good friend Brad Lee, and some of these folks I've even had a chance to coach. There's a lot of current influencers out there. I can't name their names. People with millions of followers that reach out to me and saying, Renee, can you help me craft my message? These are people that have developed a strong social media following through short form content, but never have really been able to learn the skill of communicating long form or even in person. I think we've all had the experience of meeting somebody that we follow online, and we meet them in person, and they sometimes are a little bit quiet, maybe introverted, shy, or sometimes even just weird, or maybe standoffish. Usually it's a sign of massive anxiety. And so some of these folks that have really developed a beautiful brand and a beautiful message online really want to take that to an interpersonal perspective. And so no matter where you find yourself, whether you're aspiring to be a keynote speaker, you are a keynote speaker, if you're a manager or leader of people, if you're a parent, a school teacher, if you're a police officer, if you're a student, all of this is designed to meet you there, because the stage isn't just on stage elevated in front of people. The stage could be a webinar. It could be a phone call. It could be a Zoom call. It could be a passing by near the elevator. It could be leading a budget meeting. It could be teaching kids. It could be a one-on-one conversation with your child to help them steer them in the right direction. All of those are moments of influence, and this work is designed to help you maximize those moments. I've also had the fortunate opportunity to work with some of the largest companies and brands in the world, which bring with it some of the most incredible leaders. These are people that have shown me not the theory of leadership, but people that are responsible for billions and billions of dollars. And to be able to carry that burden with these ideas, I'm telling you, I have been through the ringer in terms of whether these things work or not. I wasn't just a keynote speaker where I get to speak and rah-rah and get everybody excited and leave. I had to stick around and be held accountable to getting results. And that's the approach that I want to take with you, is to ensure that you get the results that you deserve and that you're capable of. I've also, this last year has been a wild ride being on the cover, not on the covers, excuse me, being featured in Forbes and Fast Company and Chief Executive Magazine and Inc. and TED and even Maxim Magazine. I was even in 2 tabloids. Ugh, I haven't posted that. People would say, you should post that. I was like, no, these tabloids are super sensational in how they talk. I suppose if you did a little Google search, you'd find some UK tabloids that had a couple articles on me. But I didn't write the headlines, trust me. I just told my story, and they extracted from it some pretty wild stuff. So I hope nobody finds it. I don't know why I'm getting kicked over here for even saying that. But yeah, so it's fun when you get to submit your ideas to a magazine that's also held accountable to an audience, and they say, yes, this is good. We're going to post it to the millions of people that follow us. And so that was really fun. But all of my 30 years have really been in understanding and researching and applying behavioral neuroscience. And applying it, that's the key, is how do we apply this? When I went to school and I studied this, I didn't have any passion to being a researcher. I didn't have the brain for it, to be honest. It takes a different brain to be the full-time researcher. I could understand it. I knew experimental design. I could read the abstracts and the papers, and I understood statistics. But I didn't have the passion to go out there and just do that. I always asked the question, what does this mean to me? What does this mean to selling? What does this mean to persuasion? What does this mean to coaching and training, to conflict resolution, to communicating a difficult idea? What does it mean in how I stand and walk and talking to a girl? What does it mean in all of those things? I always ask that question. And so for me, I chose the role of applied science. that I have the friends in neuroscience and the doctors, and I am with my foot in the business world, and that's why we collaborate, because I bring 30 years of experience in applying it, and they have years and years of experience in the research, and those collaborations are some of the most exciting of my career. And so as we do this, I want to bring on, for a minute, a special guest, because he's somebody that I just want to kind of introduce you to briefly here and have him come on and kind of give his little bit of his story. We're going to bring him back on at the end. But Drew Carroll, I met him actually right here in this moment, in this picture. That's me and Bradley. I don't know if you know Bradley, follow him, the real Bradley. Brad called me one day and he said, "Hey, Renee, if you heard of Russell Brunson?" Yes, I said, of course. He created ClickFunnels, and he's a billionaire now. And he's the one that's teaching how do you create mass scale with really, really good ideas. And he goes, "I have 4 people that I can work with. We're going to go through a workshop. It's 3 days." And he called me. I joined him. So me and Brad are sitting in this workshop for 3 days. And it's taught by one of Russell's students, really top-level students, somebody that makes over $1 million a month doing this kind of work. And I got to be honest, I was lost. I was confused. I was frustrated. Both Brad and I are looking at each other going, what in the hell? And how does this work? I mean, talk about drinking from a fire hydrant. It was worse for 3 days. And I finally went up. I said to the instructor, I said, can we get on stage and can I just walk you through a mind map, or not a mind map, but a flow chart, so we can kind of get a grip? Because we had a whole slew of us that didn't understand what's happening. And I went up to the best of my ability and I started drawing out things and I started piecing it together. And this guy in the front row was kind of sitting there and he's like, "Hey, no," and he's kind of pointing to me and he's like, no, that goes there. And I finally looked at him. I said, "Hey, buddy, take the marker." I go, "I want this to be collaborative because I don't know what the hell I'm doing." And he goes, "I'd love to." Hops up. And you ever seen the movie A Beautiful Mind, when somebody draws an equation and they sit back and it's larger than the room? This gentleman started drawing the flow of how information is disseminated and the psychology of what was going on and the sequencing. And I was like, oh my God, this guy gets it. And I asked him, I said, "What do you do?" He says, "Well, he's quiet and he's unassuming and very humble." And he said, why do this for a living?" Well, I said, "Awesome." Now, it took me about 6 hours to realize that he does this not just for himself and his clients, but he does it for Russell Brunson, for Tony Robbins, Grant Cardone, Dean Graziosi, and an endless list of some of the biggest names in this world. And so with that, do we have him? Can we bring Drew up on how that works? With that, Drew, I think you should be, can't turn on video. The setting is off. Can you turn that on? So I'll keep going. We'll come back. They're going to figure that out as we go. So Drew, just stand by. And the reason I want to bring him on is because Drew brings a very deep understanding of the difference between this kind of work and the work that we see out there that we get really excited to do and then doesn't translate into application. In fact, let's see, so I need to know, is this going to work now or should I just move on? Not a problem. But I do need to figure it out. We're going to need to figure it out for the end. Okay? We're going to figure it out. So I'm going to pause bringing Drew out. We're using a new version of this. And so can you slide that thing to the right for me, please? Perfect. So Drew, we'll be back to you, which is just fine. So now I want to do some level setting. If you're like me and like a lot of people here, you're going to be multitasking. And so I'm going to ask you, please put things away. Before we even do that, before I even ask you, in fact, you know what? Now let's play a little game. How many people here, and let's see in the chat, would say that you're a good multitasker? How many of you, show me hands, who are my multitaskers? The ones that are really, really, really good at it. Somebody say nope. So Betty K says yep. Some yeses and some yeses. Some, okay, this is really good. Yeah, who are my multitaskers? All right, keep it going, keep it going, keep it going. All right, so here's what we're going to do. We'll play a little game and we're going to test to see if you really are a multitasker. Now, this little game, I invite you to experience it and then steal it. This is a great tool that you can use to create engagement with people and truly draw people in. So here's the first step, all right? And you're going to say this out loud, and if you're in a room full of people, that's okay. I want you to count to 10 as fast as you can. Ready, set, go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Go. Boom. All right. Pretty fast, right? Super, super fast. Okay. Now, here we go. Now I want you to go from A to J as fast as you can. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J. A through K. Let's go to K. All right, perfect. Nice job. All right, so now we're going to introduce multitasking. What I want you to do is do one letter and one number. You're going to go A1, B2, and so on and so forth. Ready? Go. One letter, one number, one letter. No, one letter, one number. One letter, one number. Let's see how well we do. And I already know that around D and E is when you start getting frustrated. Yeah. Notice that right now you're having to almost go back. Abduel says error. Oh my God, so true. Yeah, I can't multitask. Crap productivity. I agree with you, Keith. And okay, Guillermo's showing off here. I love that. So now look at what happened here. In fact, what you're realizing is that you're actually not multitasking. You're rapidly refocusing. And so here, when you're on one single flow of an activity, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, you stay and you smoothly go through it and quality goes up. In fact, not quality goes up, quality is perfect. It was clean. If you stay on another task flow, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, perfect quality flow. But now if I've got two different tasks, I got to think letters, then I got to think numbers. What happens is I start one task, A, and then I got to stop that task and close it down, open up a new task and go to 1, stop that one and open up A. So then where was I before? Well, I was at A. So now I'm at B, and then I was 2, and then stop that one. Let's close this one, open 2, wait, A, then now C, and then back, stop that one. And which one? Okay, 3, and stop that one, and open, and it becomes sort of a malfunction. So our brains aren't designed to multitask. They rapidly refocus. And so if you're here, I invite you to be here, to truly, truly be here, and to focus on what's happening today. Did you mirror this? Yeah, because I was reading it before. Okay. And so to really, truly be here and to stay focused on what's going on. And I invite you to grab a pad of paper and a pen because I want you taking notes. Keep your keyboard close because I'm going to be asking a ton of questions here. And I want you guys to engage. This is something I want you to pull something away from. Also, make sure you close all your windows and tabs. I know I'm asking a lot, but I promise you, I'm going to be investing everything I've got here with you. Put your phones on Do Not Disturb. Turn them down. This is not that long of a period of time. I promise you the world won't collapse. And the beautiful thing is when you give people a chance to solve problems on their own, you'd be surprised at how many things happen when you don't respond right away. But just make that commitment to be here, to stay focused, and commit to growing here today. So thank you. All right. So now I want to go into our first case study. And this is where I get really, really, really excited. Because, and Drew, if you can you make sure I stay on track or send me a message to Ryan how much time I have on this section? I want to make sure that that's happening. Are you able to?
I'll chime in. I'll chime in and let you know.
Okay, perfect. And do you know how much time I have on this one? Do you remember? Because we set this aside. Just send me a message if you would. Because I want to make sure that and I'm talking about this first educational piece here. So we're going to talk about Megan. This is our first case study. This one's exciting. And here's why. Because I want to, the best way for me to really articulate what we're going to be learning here is through actually watching people go through it so you can see it in action. And so this first one is Megan. Now, Megan has become a dear friend. She's been through our Amplify immersive 2-day course almost 4 times, maybe 4 times now. And she's extremely passionate, was a D1 athlete. She was, I think it was broomball that she played. See these old pictures of her. She was known for stepping on the other opponents' heads to get to the goal. She was ruthless. She went to Ernst & Young to become an accountant, left that, and now runs 4 different businesses. And let me tell you, she's pretty intense. And so when in this piece here, I'm going to see if we can play this video. I just want to test, can you guys hear this if I play it?
Little sort of case study here.
So can you guys hear that little case study?
Little sort of case study here of Megan Marsh, who's a dear friend and client.
Okay, perfect. So I'm going to let that voiceover go, and I'm going to chime in and sort of break this down. We got 3 of these that we're going to go through. This one is a study on micro expressions. She's going to be telling a story. And as she tells the story, I want you to watch a few things. So I'm going to let this play here for a second.
And a successful entrepreneur. In this video, she's telling a story about a time that she was told no, that she couldn't do something. And if you know Megan, that is probably the worst thing you could do is tell her that she can't do something. But I want you to watch this video in real time for a minute and see if you notice anything.
So here's what I want you to do. You don't really need to you can kind of hear it. I know it's a little bit low. Is there anything on Iron we can do to turn that up? Okay, well, I think we just boosted it. But this is somebody that's telling a story about somebody that told her that she can't do something. Okay? Somebody from this town can never go and do this. And you're going to watch her tell the story. Okay? You're going to watch it in real time.
Remember this guy, Matt,
see if you notice
in a
anything.
red car saying, no one from Shaker High School will ever play Division I sports.
So,
all right. So now you watched her do this. Now, to the naked eye, you probably didn't even notice anything. When you to the untrained eye, you didn't see anything. So I'm going to break down what actually happened here so you can see in detail the micro expressions. And we're going to take a look. Okay, somebody said eyebrows raised. Eyes were all over the place. Love that. Eyebrows up, rolled eyes. Okay, you're getting close. Eyes intense off the bat, wide eyes. Talking with her hands. Yeah, I think that's a good thing. She rocked. Love it. Anger, emotion. Okay, so Melanie, you're getting close. Some lots of facial expressions. I love this. Okay, good. So you guys are paying attention. This is good. So now let's break it down frame by frame.
I don't know if you noticed it here, but let's take a look at what happened that moment that she talked about this guy, Matt.
This is the moment she talks about Matt.
So watch right here. She's, remember this guy, Matt. So you notice right here around her eyes how everything is soft.
Look how soft her eyes are. Forehead's there. Even though I know she did, it looks like she had great Botox done. Everything's there because her eyebrows aren't working right now. Oh, yeah, Anna, you're right on it. She's right there. Watch what happens.
And then as she goes forward, you'll see the moment this area starts to, you start to see it there. See? Oh, what happened there? Right there. If we just go back. Wasn't there, but now all of a sudden you start seeing that grow. That spite, that frustration, that sense of contempt. That how dare somebody, look at this, you can just see it grow really fast.
So now I want to pause that for a minute. And when we go back and we play at full speed, you're going to see how quickly that happens and most people don't even recognize it. We feel it. There's an intuition for those of us maybe who are a little bit more in tune. But she wasn't even aware that she was feeling this way. And that's what's critical. One is that we personally aren't aware of all of the things that we're giving away. When it comes to influence, there's the offensive strategy of here's how I structure my language, here's how I carry myself, here's the words that I use and the sequence that I use, and sort of this offensive approach to sort of influence you. But then there's the unconscious things that we're doing that sometimes are working for us, but sometimes they're working against us. And or they just reveal things. And so when you start learning, a lot of our best salespeople, our best teachers, our best leaders have a strong intuition in being able to pay attention to these things, and they call it a gut feel. And the reason they call it a gut feel is because their amygdala picks this stuff up, sends a message actually to their gut to say, pay attention to what's going on. And so I want everybody to try for a minute to make that face, okay? To make that face. So it's all, I got to pause. So James says, as an empath, I'm feeling what she's, I don't like it at all, at a subconscious feeling. So James, I love that. So what I would say, this is a sort of a tidbit. There actually is no there's no proper term or anywhere in the psychology community for the word empath. The word empath actually came from Star Trek. Can you believe that? The empaths. So there's no actual clinical diagnosis for somebody to be an empath. What I'd say is somebody who's extremely empathetic, somebody who's in touch and cares about people, somebody that really pays attention to what's going on, is in tune. And so what's interesting, side bit, empaths, if you watch Star Trek, you'd know exactly where that came from. So now I want everybody to try to make this face, right? Just try for a minute. Like, can you just, look at how much energy it takes to be angry like that. And it's almost eyes are open. And so you got to open your eyes and turn your eyebrows in. It's like, it takes a lot of energy. It's not something simple. And it happens so quickly. Let's watch it again. Let's watch it again here.
I want to walk through a little sort of you start to see it there. See? Oh, what happened there? Right there. If we just go back. Wasn't there, but now all of a sudden you start seeing that grow fast. And sometimes, but just look at that, how amazing that is. I'm going to play it in full time. See, soft face.
This guy, Matt.
See how quick that was. It literally is a split second. If you don't see it,
Remember this guy.
Boom, right there. That's that look of contempt.
And so now Michael says, I actually feel angry. And that's exactly draining, Daniel, exactly what it is. Because what we know now, we know that our brain is sending signals to our body. We know that if we feel sad, we start feeling sad. We start sitting sad. We start feeling down because we feel sad, so our body's going to follow. So a lot of research was done out there to say, okay, hold on a second. So we know if it works from our brain to our body. Does it work from our body to our brain? Well, you just showed me. It's reality. If you're not feeling well, guess what? Maybe if you start standing differently, you'll tell your body. Let's say you're feeling great and you start making these faces. God, I can't even do it. I was like, I can't even do it. It's a hard one to do. It's draining. I start feeling angry because of the face structure and the expressions creates the algorithm to tell the brain that you must be upset. So it's asynchronous. It works in both directions. So what does that mean to you? What that means to you, one, when you're feeling a certain way, or if you want to walk into a room, you need to pay attention to your body first, because light travels faster than sound. Before you even say anything, people are paying attention to every single thing that you're giving off. And guess what? The good part is, if you find yourself sitting like this, you can just sit up a little bit straighter, stand a little bit taller, force yourself to smile. And all of a sudden, it starts sending the signals to the brain that maybe you're actually happy. This is the importance, and even in vision science is starting to prove this, that the movement through the retina and the cornea, as the world moves by, starts sending positive dopamine to the brain. It's sort of nature's way of saying that if you feel depressed or low energy, start to move. Because if you see the images rolling across, there's a sense of movement and you start feeling better. It's hard to be depressed and going for a run. I've never seen a depressed farmer because they're always doing stuff. They're always on the move. And so we have to learn something from that and realize that we are giving off signals all the time. And when we get into this process, we want to make sure that we are aware of where we are and how we're treating people. So that's our first case study. And tell me what you think. Mirror neurons. Okay, so Natasha talks about mirror neurons. There actually aren't mirror neurons, but they do behave in a mirrored fashion, right? So they don't call them mirror neurons, but the process is called neural coupling. So like two people come together as a couple. So neurons. If I'm telling you a story, you begin to now, the same way that in my brain, I start to light up in my sensory cortex, I start to light up, so does the listener, and in the same way. And so through storytelling, both parts of the brain are starting to light up and in essence mirror each other, which is why they call them, well, you've heard that term, mirror neurons. But the process is neural coupling. And so fascinating stuff. Go to ChatGPT, by the way, and type in neural coupling. Tell me about that. And what does that mean? And how do I create it? And start getting really curious and use it as almost as a coach. How would I apply it in this business? If I'm in insurance, how would I apply neural coupling to better create rapport faster? If I'm doing an application with a client, how can I create neural coupling quicker? What are 5 tips that I can do? These are all great things that you can use something like ChatGPT to help coach you and get really specific into your industry. And so let's go on to the next one. Sam. So Sam, this is, if you've been part of this, you've probably seen this video. If you haven't, I'm going to tell you a little bit about Sam. Sam, one, has become a very dear friend. And he came to us years ago. And as a self-proclaimed Iowa country bumpkin, okay? Self-proclaimed Iowa country bumpkin. And so talks like this, oh, come on, man. And so when Sam came to me, he was very nervous on stage, a lot of ums and ahs. And you're going to notice what happens when we add a little bit of pressure and stress, okay? And before I do that, I want to talk to you a little bit about this concept. And this is, by the way, this is the masterclass. This is why we get to go really nerdy. And question, did you figure out how to bring Drew on? Okay, so I could just keep, no, don't try it now, but just see if it works. Okay, so the masterclass, this is where we get a little bit nerdy. So there's this concept called biologically primary and biologically secondary things that we have to learn. So anything that is primary are things that keep us alive. Beating our heart, our primary learning would be defending oneself, recognizing a friendly face, like those micro expressions, that's a primary activity. Being able to find food, all those things are primary activities, things that keep us alive, and our whole life depends on that. Then there's biologically secondary. Those are things like reading and writing, algebra, learning how to build a website, those types of things. Those are secondary, meaning if you don't do them, life will be harder, but you won't die. And so when we learn secondary things, we use secondary methodologies like we learn those things with a guide using theories, principles, axioms, and formulas. Basically, a teacher at school. And so we learn through a book, textbooks, and we take tests, and that's how we learn things like algebra, geometry, and physics and science. But the challenge is to be successful and to develop our emotional intelligence. The things that really propel us in business and grow our influence, those are mostly biologically primary things. And so learning, like for example, you don't learn biologically primary things using a secondary methodology, like a reading something. For example, how many of you have ever learned how to box, right? Learning how to box or fight. Let's say that I was going to train you how to fight, and I gave you a pamphlet and a brochure exactly how to hold your hands, how to bob, weave, throw the jabs, and you learn this easily, and you got an A on the test. Are you ready for a fight? The answer is absolutely not, because you get in the ring and all of a sudden somebody throws that first jab at you and you blink and they hit you with a cross and you didn't see it coming because you'd never been in that scenario. You never learned it under stress. You never learned what you needed to learn under the biological conditions that you actually have to perform. It's the same is true in the military. You can't go through a simulation on how to shoot a gun and ace that test and then be ready for war when actual bullets are coming at you. It's a totally different chemistry, and you won't perform the same. So you have to learn under the conditions. If you talk to anybody that's military, and if you are here and you're part of the military, one, thank you for your service, but ask them. They'll tell you. They didn't learn how to shoot a gun in a room with Mozart playing, air conditioning, and big earmuffs to pad their ears. They probably learned it under high levels of stress, heat, and maybe people yelling and screaming at them, and maybe even fake explosives or real explosives. Who knows? Who knows what it was to create the moment of performance? And so when they are out there and actually at war, it's not their first time. Guess what? Influence and the things that we're teaching you are also the same. And so you're going to watch in this example of the some real stress that I put Sam under, and you'll see that we do this to create and reveal three things. I want to say one more thing, actually. We do it to there's three things that we're looking at. One, there's talent. Talent is something God gave you, right? Some of us were bestowed talent, and that's fantastic. Leverage the talent as much as you can. And then we have skill, which is something that you earned through hard work. Talent and skill are amazing. But then we have this third one called attribute. And attribute is who you become and how you behave in situations that you didn't train for. And I love revealing people's attributes because those attributes are what reveal themselves when they're introducing themselves in a room, giving a keynote, leading a meeting, or just somebody triggers them in some sort of way, and they reveal sort of their true self. And so the good news is when we reveal the stress and we train in that moment, we can actually shift some of your attributes. So let's take a look at this next case study with Sam. And so let's hit play.
My name is Sam Parker. Sorry, one more thing. Maybe a couple of things to remember. You're going to count his ums. So Sam, tell us about you. My name is Sam Parker. From 32 ums in. From Iowa originally. Okay, let's do it. All right. Shake off the ums. My name is Sam Parker. First and foremost,
Two, 4 and 6-year-old Paige and Quinn. I'm a husband to my wife Trisha. My name is.
Why? Okay, sorry guys. We had an audio glitch. I'm assuming you guys can't hear it, so we're going to start this one over. So what you'll notice here, I'm trying to do this. There we go. We're going to here we go. We're going to start over.
My name is Sam Parker.
Oh, sorry, one more thing. Maybe a couple of things if I remember. You're going to count his ums. Okay. So Sam, tell us about you.
My name is Sam Parker. From
32 ums in.
From Iowa originally. Okay, let's do it. All right. Shake off the ums. My name is Sam Parker.
So now, what you'll notice is that now he's bringing self-awareness, and this is why I want to break this down. So first thing that we do when you're trying to create change is you want to bring some self-awareness. One, he's like, hi, my name is Sam Parker, and we bring self-awareness. And the first thing that happens when you bring self-awareness to crutch words or things like that is your stress level begins to rise. Now we start seeing the attributes sort of squeezed out of you, and the ums go up even further, and you'll watch even a visceral response when he recognizes something that was unconscious before. You're going to watch him go, it's almost like painful, like somebody punched him in the gut. And then he finally, after the third one, he just freezes, and he knows he doesn't want to say it again, but his brain is at least now stopping it. By the way, this is the change process. I want you to write something down. Awkwardness is a requirement for growth. Awkwardness is a requirement for growth. And most of us avoid awkwardness like the plague. We want to avoid any situation that makes us feel awkward. We don't want to learn new things in front of other people. We don't want to do any of those things because it's uncomfortable. Now, unfortunately, it's the price of entry to growing and learning, to neuroplasticity, for your brain to develop new patterns and new behaviors. You have to stumble your way through. Think of a child and how awkwardly they try to walk the first time. It doesn't work. Their legs are going. Think of a baby deer that comes out, Bambi, and the legs are just wobbling. It's awkward. That's awkward. And it's new and it's vulnerable. But that's the beauty of it. A child is vulnerability. And we lose that as adults because we haven't created the psychological safety for us to be able to do this. That's why we only do that in front of trusted people. And so let's go back, and I want you to see that here, by the way, is the sign of somebody who's willing to go into high performance, that's willing to put themselves in a situation like this. So now he's notices ums and ahs, and now we're going to see what happens next.
First and foremost, I'm a father to two, 4 and 6-year-old, Paige and Quinn. I'm a husband to my wife, Trisha, 10 years.
So we're going to start over again. You know what the solution is to ums and ahs? You learned it last night.
Silence.
Be conscious of your swaying, ums, ahs. We're going to reel all this stuff in.
My name's Sam Parker. I'm originally from Iowa.
Stressful, isn't it?
Yeah.
I'm going to count his.
So now, if you notice, he developed the self-awareness, which is painful because a lot of us, and our ego doesn't want to. The true function of the ego doesn't want to look at those things. And it's difficult when we realize, oh man, I didn't realize I do this. Oh man. Like I look at some of the old pictures of myself. Oh man, if you know the old me, I wish I had a picture of some of the old me. Like, yeah, it was bad. And it's hard to look at because you realize, oh my God, I need to make a change. And now everything about me is avoiding the process of wanting to make that change. And so here it is. So now we've gone through the process of uncovering. Now, here's the thing. My job isn't just to teach people to get rid of ums and ahs. And the true science behind ums and ahs is that if you're doing them every 2 to 3 seconds, it's bad and distracting and it hurts your credibility. If you're upwards of 7 to 8 seconds and beyond, it's actually okay and acceptable. And so they're part of every day, but we add the stress to reveal it, to bring the self-awareness, to run through the awkwardness, and then to build more self-control and manage the stress response so that now what happens? So now we've shut down the ums and the ahs, but you'll notice that the stress manifested into something else. And in this case, a clap. Some of us talk. All right, so guys, before we get started, one of the things that we've got here, and you don't even notice that you're doing this. And you're going to watch how Sam now transitions into
ums, ahs, likes, and okays.
Always do the right thing, no matter the reward or the consequence. I found myself in 2014 at a company.
So you're going to start over because you've clapped 3 times.
Well, you got rid of my ums. I got to move on to something else.
So now, Sam, you can tell, I want to break down even just Sam's approach to life and his approach to learning. 1, he's willing to put himself out there. 2, he doesn't take himself too seriously. And that's such a key component to learning. To just take life as it is and to not be scared to make a mistake. And the timing of the humor was such a releasing moment because how many of you could feel the stress of the ums and being start and stopped and start and stopped and start and stopped? Yes, humor is an advanced defense mechanism. If overused, sometimes it's a beautiful way to heal a moment. Humor can provide a really good thing, but the overuse of it, I totally agree with you, Gonzalo, that it can be abused just like anything else. Now, in this case, it was his way of relieving the stress to kind of rid himself of that moment. And we have rules in a lot of our courses that, we don't overuse the humor club. And if we do, I will actually ban people from making jokes for 2 days. And trust me, I've done it. The class clowns, I tell them, I said, you didn't learn to come here to be funny. You're already funny. I mean, you are hilarious, but you're not going to do it during other people's learning. And so we're going to take that away, and we're going to do this. Now, here's what's really fun. And how many of you can feel Sam's pain right now? Say yes in there. How many of you can say it? Raise your hand, say yes, do something in there, right? If you can feel his pain, and look at this, everyone can feel it. This is a critical component. You're now engaged in rapport and empathy with Sam. If you have empathy with Sam and he is learning something and you feel the pain of his learning, you are now learning as well. You are going through the exact same process. And by observing Sam go through this and feeling emotionally what's going on and getting the data and the information at the same time, you are locking in that learning so that when we come to you, you will have taken yourself further down the path, almost as if you were the one getting coached because you saw and experienced and went through the emotional journey. Is that so? There's a process called co-learning, C-O-learning, co-learning. And co-learning is really comprised of two things. One, it's comprised of real-time feedback and real-time correction. And so what's happening is say, okay, you said 3 times already. It's like, oh, and it's jarring at first. It catches you off guard, but it's powerful because it helps it build that awareness in the real time versus having to wait 6 months and get feedback. This is one of my cases around why performance reviews done every 6 months or a year are kind of a waste of time. Not a kind of, they're a big waste of time. Everyone hates them. And if you've been messing up for 6 months, you're kind of feeling like, why didn't you tell me 6 months ago? And so it's the same thing. And if you're going through this process, especially if you're engaged in this and you're watching somebody go through it, it creates the contrasting moment of before and afterwards for people. But then the real-time correction is they get a chance to fix it and then fix it again and then fix it and then fix it until finally it lands and it's there. And so now what we're going to chance to see is what happened and what Sam transitions into. You're going to see that as a result of watching his videos, Sam went and changed his wardrobe. Sam looked at how he kept himself and realizing the unfortunate reality is that in his business, people do look at what and how he dresses. He used to show up to all his meetings in sandals. Yes, sandals and shorts and a raggedy t-shirt. So now let's take a look at what Sam went to.
My name is Sam Parker. So there I was, 18 years old, the culmination of 17 years of hard work. I was on the wrestling mat in the semifinals of the Iowa State Championships. I don't need to tell you how it went or how I lost, other than the fact that I lost that match. And it was devastating. And I got a letter that said, Iowa is no longer an option for you. Go off and do something else, come back when you're ready. I think that as we all become successful, sometimes we forget about the times when we felt like losers. But I'll tell you one thing that makes you feel like a loser is when you go to apply for a home loan for your family and your mortgage lender tells you no, and go do something else and come back when you're ready. I am 17 years into my career with credit repair, just like I was 17 years in with wrestling. And I'm going to constantly improve because I know that when I let up, that's when you fail. And I'm not a failure. My name's Sam Parker, and I would love to do business with you.
So now let's go back to this. I want you to take a look at what happened here. One, I mean, I'm seeing you guys, you see the transformation, and I get emotional when I watch this stuff. And I've got another one that's incredible and just as powerful, but different lessons in it. But I get emotional because this is what it feels like to have a beautiful message on the inside, feeling trapped though. How many of you feel like you have something really good that you want to say, but you feel handcuffed? You feel trapped? How many of you feel that way? And the beautiful moment is when you teach somebody that there's a real science to this. This isn't a God-given gift. This is not something that is magically bestowed on some people and not. Everyone can have this. Everybody has, and my personal mission is to get this to as many people as possible, because think of the beautiful people out there right now, the amazing people that have amazing messages and good messages, especially in a world like today, where we need people to lead and to guide, but yet they haven't been taught how to do it. They haven't been given even maybe themselves permission. Maybe they had a childhood and maybe they had a father or a mother or a coach or somebody that suppressed them down so far, and all of this amazing stuff is trapped. If you're one of those people, I want you to keep watching, because this is for you. This is something that can be achieved, and I'm going to show you exactly how to do it. So now, let's look at what happened. Not only did he find his story, this goes back to that same thing. A lot of people they don't realize they have a story. They start with, here's what it is that I do, here's what's going on, and here's what I want, and here's my value proposition, and here's. versus the way the brain works. And I'm going to draw a model of the brain, by the way, that I haven't shared in a long time, of why there's a sequence to this. In fact, that's one of the modules that we talk about, is there's a sequence to everything. He started with the story of wrestling. And that story revealed the characteristics, his grit, the essence of who he was through what we call his origin story. And his origin story reveals his values. And we buy into it. He was on the mat. Instead of saying, hi, my name is Sam Parker and husband to my wife, Trisha, and I own a credit repair company. No. He said, this is who I am. I was on the mat. Iowa State Championships. Now, wrestling, that's the best in the world right there. He was there. So all of the attributes of that. And then that story beautifully transitions into what he does now. And so just like I was 17 years into with wrestling, I'm 17 years in with credit repair. And I know what it's like to lose. And I don't want my customers to feel like they're losing or to feel like a loser. And I will not. It's like this beautiful transition and the merging of who he is and what he does. That's when really things start to take off. And the beautiful thing about it is that from an ethics perspective, all it does is it creates attraction, and people want to be around things like that. You want to do business with people like that because the solution is clear and you trust the person. Instead of feeling persuaded or duped into something, you feel attracted into something, and you can opt into something because you have a fuller choice of who someone is. So if you're watching this, I'm excited for this next one here, because this one was, man, this was a powerful one. And I want to tell you about Julia. And so Julia.
Renee, can I jump in? I just want to add another layer to that Sam video. Because it was so beautiful just to watch how Sam really learned that whole method. And you could see it viscerally in his body, like he got it. But what I think was also really, really interesting is what you're talking about at the end there. What the industry that Sam is in is boring, as far as I'm concerned. If I'm looking at it through a marketing lens, like credit repair is boring. People and companies spend hundreds of thousands of dollars looking for a unique angle, a unique way to position themselves to sell their products. And then on top of that, how do they build know, like, and trust, like you were saying? And there's kinds of different data points, and they need to see your face 13 times and all this kind of stuff. This is all through the marketing realm. This is what, I do with the big guys, with Tony and Grant, is try and come up with these different messages that resonate differently and stand out from the crowd. What Sam was able to do without doing, without focus groups, without all kinds of money spent in testing, he was able to just authentically open himself up, present what he does, ask to do business with him, and do it in such an authentic way that I got chills watching that video for the third time. There's no better marketing message than being able to open yourself up authentically and go through this process. So,
and for those asking, yes, this is Drew, and this is Ryan, by the way, the king of all of my media here, and he's changing something to see if we can actually see Drew's beautiful face. So keep going, Drew.
So I just want to say that with this method, you could take any message, right? How many messages do we have in our lives that we're having a hard time getting through? Whether it's in a communication with your partner, whether it's a communication with your children, and you're saying the same things over and over, but your message isn't getting through, whether it's a leadership call with your team at work, right? You can use this method to genuinely get that message across in such an authentic way that people connect with you, that they hear it, that they take action. To me, that's what influence is. And that's what Renee's showing here, is really just a way to have people hear you. And I just think it's so incredibly powerful. And I just wanted to add that for the Sam video.
Love that. Thank you, Drew. I appreciate that. And it's such an amazing thing. And Drew, when we get to your section here, we're going to do yours auditorially. So we'll have, we'll just throw a picture of you and have you, maybe we can get a picture of him. It's on one of the, I'll throw it up there. I think I have that one slide, and you'll interview me on that part. So how do you find the balance between connecting without devaluing your credentials, showing humility with credentials? Great, Cody, great message. It's not an either or, it's a sequence. Connect before credentials. How many of you have ever met somebody that starts off right away with, I did all this stuff and I did all that stuff. And even quite frankly, in this process, even telling you a little bit about what I did in the beginning, it's a dicey road to begin with. Here's what I've done. I've wrote this book. and I did the stuff and I talked to these people. So there's an importance piece in this to say, okay, one, hopefully I've been able to connect with most of you on this prior to you getting on this call. And then for those that maybe don't know, here's some credibility pieces of it, but yet I want to connect right away. And connection can happen through voice. It can happen through authenticity, through even some self-deprecating humor sometimes. Lots of things can happen, but typically if you're in a sales environment or if you're working to persuade somebody or in an influence environment, you want to connect with them first because then they'll be open to the credentials. But sometimes people want to know your credentials and who you are before they even are willing to connect with you. But really, they want to know who you are before they're willing to take advice from you. And that's really what it comes down to. But great, really, really, really great question. And so let's talk about Julia. So Julia came to me, and actually her boss is who came to me. Julia at the time worked for what is known to be, was ranked the #1 most innovative food company in the world, Purist Foods. They, a dear friend of mine is the CEO. The family owns the business. Just to give you an idea, Tesla's the #1 most innovative car company in the world, and they were food. And they created a really cool pea protein that is unique. And the science behind this protein is incredible. So Julia was a content creator for them. Also a magnificent nerd when it comes to the science. Also believes that peas will save the planet. Now, when you understand this, you realize that peas actually play a pretty cool role in nitrogen fixation and helping reduce the amount of fertilizer that's being used. It's some really, really, really cool things. And she was offered a TED Talk to do this. Now, here's the challenge. She's 25 years old, has never spoken in front of a group before. CEO called me and said, Renee, can you get her ready for a TED Talk? And I said, you know what? I love the challenge. She shows up the first day with 85 pages of research. 85 pages of research. And let me tell you, it was all compelling. All of it compelling. And then I told her, I said, you know, this is a TED Talk. That the highest majority of views in a TED Talk, the ones that perform the best, are around 13 minutes. You have a max of 17 minutes. And unfortunately, you have to be, and I've given 2 TED Talks myself. And when you give a TED Talk, it was by far the 2 hardest talks I've ever given. Because you have to be immediately relevant and immediately valuable. No fluff allowed, and typically no interaction with an audience. And bright light on you. Oh, and it's going to be uploaded to a website with over 36 million subscribers. Okay? Talk about pressure. And so she came to me and I told her, I said, you're not going to be able to research people to death. I'm going to have you watch the beginning and how this works. This is one of my favorites. So let's go over here.
Hi, everybody. My name is Julia, and I'm a content developer here. I've been working here for...
Are you telling us or asking if you're...
I'm telling you, but somewhat asking.
Start over?
Okay.
Pause. Look at her right knee. See that?
Now, warning, this is the old fat Renee, so have some fun with this one.
So you've got the stance. She's got this down, right? But then she's like, oh. Yeah. So just relax. Take a deep breath. You're shooting free throw.
Cool.
What do? You do this when you're shooting free throw? No. Right? Just relax. Take that deep breath, and everything's relaxed. The same thing up here.
Okay.
So now, just take a look at what's going on. So she was doing one of these things, and you notice that people. So imagine if I were to come out here, right? Hey guys, I'm just really excited, and just doing one of these things, right? So I didn't mean to bring up Fat Renee. Let's get back to learning. Nobody wants to see Fat Renee anymore, especially my wife. She doesn't want to see that. But no, it's like imagine just this little piece here. So now we stop it, and we relax. And so getting back to that first piece, we start breaking down the process. And so here's the important thing. I want you to take this away. You need to videotape yourself and you need to record yourself. Every single presentation that you give. Every single presentation you give, if you want to improve on this. For work especially. Because that's what builds a self-awareness. You start seeing some of the things that are unconscious. So let's go back. So now you're going to start seeing, she goes into where she wants to make the point of all of the reasons why peas are important, and one amazingly long run-on sentence.
My name is Julia, and I believe peas will save the planet. And I'm super passionate about it, and I'm really interested in health and food security. And I've seen a lot of, and I really feel like a diet, and I think peas are a really, really good option.
You know that was all one sentence. Big run-on and this is where.
And so now, this is where we start forgetting that telling isn't selling. Information isn't what really gets people to go on. And when I use the word selling, by the way, because I know a lot of you aren't in the world of selling, but you are in the world of influence and persuasion. I don't care what you do. We all have to persuade and influence people. Our kids need to influence children in the playground. Teachers need to influence children to be able to pay attention in schools. This applies to everyone. And so for her, she wants to, she's not in a sales position, but she wants people to utilize and see the value of peas. One of my least favorite vegetables on the planet. But so keep paying attention, okay?
This is where the work comes in, folks.
This is where the work
It's
comes
so worth it when you can actually let your heart speak.
In Montana, a community.
Oh, but is somebody saying that we planted people? No, we have no plants in this, guys. Come on. I love it. I kind of wish we did. That'd be kind of fun. So now this next piece I thought was really, really cool. Where are we now? So she wanted to tell 2 stories about 2 communities that really transformed their entire communities by planting peas. And this might be, I don't know if this is more painful than watching Sam's, but we'll see.
In Montana, a community of farmers who, I don't know how to do it.
What about the storytelling? Just how to tell that story.
Okay.
So what you're going to watch, this is day 2. And you're going to watch, she's already looking down, hands are behind her back, and you're going to watch sort of all stressed out, right? And then starts to relax. And then you're going to watch her make another mistake and then feel defeated.
All right, cool. Cool.
You're already still. Big round of applause.
In Montana, there's a really small town of farmers. I don't even know what to say. Like, this is where I get like.
So look what happened there. So that feeling of being defeated. So look at what happened here. Let's just go back to this. Look at this. So she's presenting, and watch her shoulders, her hands kind of go up and then down, up, down, up, and then down. She's defeated. Look at her shoulders drop and everything drops. And that feeling of feeling defeated, and how many times that we might be in the middle of something and just feel like, that feeling of just feeling defeat. That is such a critical moment, because everything that you have going forward, your growth, everything you're trying to do will be defined by that moment of whether you stay in the game or you give up. And this is one of those moments where I love to really just kind of pause, because I want you to take a moment that maybe in the moment of defeat might be the most defining moment of your life. And I say defeat because it's here. It's only defeat if you allow that to be. It's only defeat if you stop. But so many of us feel we just give up, and I'm not going to do that again. That was too painful, it was too hard, and we never come back to it. But maybe defeat, or that feeling of feeling defeated, what if that was the signal to say you're almost there? What if that's what that triggered? I'm almost there. Because I know some people that they feel they're defeated over and over and over and over again, and all they can think about is, oh, I'm getting closer. The more I feel defeated, the better I get at this. And there's this moment of high level of defeat, high, and then we get over the top, defeat, boom, okay, boom. Now all of a sudden we start feeling better, but most of us don't get over that hump. And so what if that feeling of feeling defeated is something that was just telling you, hang in there just a little bit longer? So let's take a look at what she does.
This is where I get like, I'm gonna try again.
Fail forward, I love that.
I love basketball. I remember being a kid.
Now, before I even go this, notice immediately her, this thing is so sensitive. Notice immediately her confidence as she walks out. Her hands are in the right place. Everything's functional. Let me just get to the beginning here so I can stop this.
Basketball.
And what I wanted to say is that she actually, remember, she wanted to start with all that research. And as we started getting to know her, uncovering her story and who she was, her origin story, like Sam's was wrestling, Julia's was basketball. She was a basketball player. And in that moment where she realized that who she was all came from basketball, she fought me tooth and nail. She didn't want to tell the basketball story because there was something that happened that pulled her away from basketball. It was a very difficult story for her. And she couldn't rationalize what in the world that had to do with peas. Why would anybody want to know about my basketball story when I'm here giving a TED Talk? Shouldn't I get into the rationale in peas and the research and the science and really blow people's minds with what's going on? You'd think that that's the way that it should work. That's not how our brains work. We have to buy into you before we buy into your message. And so I had her go out and I said, okay, tell 10 people your basketball story. Tell 10 people all your research and you come back to me. I finally kicked her out, and with love. And she came back a week later and she's like, nobody wants to hear my science. And I said, no shit. And it's because they don't know anything else. There's no relevancy to them in that sense. And so, but everybody, what did they want? They all love my basketball story. So we finally convinced her to start with basketball. And I want you to watch how she transitions and beautifully tells this basketball story. Watch the use of pauses and how she uses silence to drive home a message. And then how it transitions into now sharing the stories. She goes back and tries to tell the Montana story. Remember the one? She's like, I don't know how to tell it. And she wanted to give up, but she stayed in the game. And I want to point out one more thing here. If we go back to this, and you go back to even when she was getting trained, right? You notice in the background here, this is right behind her here, you see what we call our story matrix. This is something that is also in our book, but what we train you on, and something we're going to be revealing some pretty cool stuff. What we identify here are her values. Hard work, honesty, and teamwork or community. And we look at entry levels, what she believes, what she remembers, what she was taught, and what she's passionate about as a way to reveal stories. And that process revealed all sorts of stories that all came back to who she was and her origin. And then as she kept training, we worked her through, even in day 2, if you notice over here on the right, her crutch words like, so, right, whatever, okay, all those crutch words, putting all that work in, all of it awkward, I might remind you, to then land here. So let's watch. Remember, she's going to tell the story and then transition into...
I love basketball. I remember being a kid and disappearing to the gym after school until late in the night. I remember the day of my first game so vividly. There's this thrill that runs through your entire body, and you're constantly bouncing back and forth between total excitement and complete terror. And as I'm driving to my first game of the season, listening to my favorite music, running through the plays in my head, smack! I come to my senses, and the throbbing pain in my head is excruciating. I had been in a car accident and was left with a traumatic brain injury.
So you remember the Montana story that she gave up?
To understand my passion a little better, I want to take us all on a journey to where our food is cultivated, the farm.
So what she did there, and we're going to talk about this concept, she didn't just say, I'm going to tell you a story. She said, she framed it up as to rationale, where our food is cultivated, the farm. She created relevancy instead of just saying, and in Montana, they use this stuff and here's what they did. No, she brought us in. I want to take you back onto where food is cultivated, the farm, and kind of remind us of some of the things that we take for granted.
The first story I want to share with you is about a group of farmers in Montana whose community relies upon agriculture to survive.
Notice her passion, agriculture to survive versus, so this is a town in Montana that uses agriculture to feed their people. And what they do is they farm, and those people that work there, this is called delivery, folks. Relies on agriculture to survive. That's the pathos, which we're going to talk about as well. I know I'm using these terms, but folks, this is the Masterclass. We're diving in deep on this stuff, and we got something special for you at the end. So let's keep going here.
They rely upon the farms and the farmers to grow crops, hire people, and provide food to the community and the rest of the nation.
So now, she had a vision. We had this vision when we were creating this, because this was about a pea, this tiny little pea. I said, what if you ended with a pea in your hand, and you're saying this pea can save the world? And the question is, and then she said, well, what does it have to do with them? And I asked her, I said, what do you think it has to do with them? Because the process of influence, she's using props, visual aids, and bringing this beautiful story of the P together. But what does it mean to the audience? And we talked about it. She said, sometimes we all feel small and insignificant. Maybe just like this little P here. There's a great proverb that says, no raindrop ever felt responsible for the flood. Yet it takes all the raindrops for it to happen. So everyone plays a role. And if she's trying to drive action, how can she take this little P and do this? And let's watch what her closing is.
Throughout this recovery process, it's been, and really just in life in general, it's been really easy to see a huge mountain in front of me and feel so, so small. The next time you start to feel small, I sincerely, sincerely hope you remember the P and how this little thing is changing the world. The P is the teacher, the guru. It reminds us no matter how small, we are all able to make a tremendous difference. Go conquer that mountain and fuel your body with P's. Thank you.
So, Allie, great question. What did the accident have to do with that? So one, we clipped this up, and Michael's right. What happened was, and first of all, what an amazing story. When she had her accident and traumatic brain injury, she was a smart girl, felt like she couldn't even go back to school, couldn't learn, her brain wasn't working. She felt insignificant and helpless, maybe like that little P, and maybe like our audience, and maybe we can't make a difference on the world. And so sometimes when we remember we feel small, maybe we remember the power of the P, as she was saying, right? The guru, the teacher, that maybe we can just be small and still make an impact on the world. So it all kind of came together, right? And so all of those little elements start pulling together a real reason why the story exists in the beginning and pulling that thread through the entire time. So it's not just storytelling for the sake of storytelling. It's storytelling to deliver a message. And that's very different. All of us know, I can guarantee you, all of us know somebody, the difference between two types of people. Somebody who's really good storyteller and the other person who just loves to tell stories, right? So what's the difference? They're a really good storyteller and they love to tell stories. And so when we think about those elements there, what's the difference? Well, the difference is the one who tells a story and who's really good at it has a lesson and a message. And I'm going to break down for you exactly how that works in a bit here. We're going to show you how the brain works specifically to watch the process. But that the person that has a message and a moral and a lesson we call a tie down is delivering something there. And we love the story because of the message. If you remove the message and the moral, the person just loves to tell stories. And we're going, why'd you share that with me? Because there's no value in it for me. And so think about it from that perspective. In a captive audience, you better have a message and a moral. In a non-captive audience, like say social media, if you don't, swiped, scrolled, you're out. So having that message and the moral in those two different environments are there. So we're gonna talk a lot and get into detail about how this works. But put in there, what do you think? How'd you feel when you watched Julia, who was just defeated, to come out there and just express what she believed? I get emotional because I look at this and somebody that was so smart, had such a passion, something so beautiful to deliver, yet felt helpless and trapped inside of her own body. So many of our beautiful messages and good messages are trapped inside of all of us. My passion and the purpose of this whole course and why you're here, why I'm doing this and inviting all of you here so that you could see that you too can find this. And what I want to show you today is the exact process to achieve the same results that you just watched. I want to show you exactly how it's done. I want to show you and give you the tools so you can be able to do that. And for those of you that want to take this further, I've got something really, really fun that I want to share with you at the end. This isn't for everyone. I hope it is. I wish it was, but it's not. But for those that do want to take this further, I have something really, really special there. So make sure you stay to the end because we got something exciting. Actually, probably one of the most exciting things I've ever done. And so let's go into this next piece here. I'm actually really, really excited about this because when I first learned about this, and I'm going to see if I can't use this other piece here. Can you guys hear me okay? Give me a yes. You guys can still hear me okay. Yes? Wonderful. Thank you so much. And so when I first learned about the brain, this was actually the first picture that my mother drew for me. And if you know anything about my mother, she's the most influential person in my life. I followed her work. She was the one that brought these sort of elementary and rudimentary ideas to me, and it became a passion for everything that I do. And so when I look at this image now, I want to give you a little bit of a warning. What I'm going to run through is this theory called the triune brain theory. Triune meaning three. And this is a theory, or was a theory, developed by a guy by the name of Paul MacLean, Dr. Paul MacLean. He was the director of the National Institute of Mental Health. And this was 70 years ago. Oh, I got to do the math. It was a while ago that he came up with this theory. Now, in 1991, it was debunked. And what he was saying was that we had three different brain systems. And if you've heard of like the lizard brain or the reptilian brain or sort of the primitive nature, that's where that comes from. And so a lot of work and a lot of research was done on understanding that. Now, here's the thing. It was debunked. And when I wrote my book, Amplify Your Influence, I went through and I was going to talk about this. But when you write a book with a publisher, a respected publisher, they're going to make you check everything. So I had to go back and check, and come to find out it was a debunked theory. But I also did some more research on this. It is metaphorically very accurate. And last I checked, there isn't anybody here that's looking to become an actual neuroscientist. You guys run businesses, run families, and live a life. And your goal is to be able to apply science to be able to find maybe more success, more money, better relationships, better health, all the basics. And so this is what I've come to coin literally inaccurate, but metaphorically accurate. And so what I'm sharing with you is a metaphor. Just like I say, if I use a pen to describe something, or it's kind of like this, it's a metaphor, but yet it still follows a lot of the same behaviors. And I have tested this. One of our partners in Europe is the co-founder of the Neuro Leadership Institute, runs one of the largest, most successful business schools in all of Europe. He still uses this theory metaphorically. He and I talk all the time. I have neuroscientists that work very closely with Dr. Amen and what's his name? The head neuroscientist at Harvard, which we work next to. I'm not sure why I'm forgetting this right now. Dr. John Rady. They still use this as a theory and as a metaphor. But I just wanted you to understand this isn't the science part, okay? And so this is also connected to NLP. So NLP is sort of this structure within science where people pick and choose different elements to. I don't usually talk much about NLP. It's just it's cool. It's really fun party tricks, and it's also very powerful and can be misused. And so the elements of NLP, neuro linguistic programming, are something I don't do, if you will, but yet I grew up with them. And so they are ingrained in a lot of things. It's just really a really cool use of neuroscience. And so they are connected in some way, shape, or form, but there's a lot more to it. So that's sort of the short answer to that. And so I would what I tell people is go to the neuroscience side. There's a lot, it's much more accepted, if you will, in that community. And so let's take a look at this brain. And what it's saying in this, now this is my drawing of a head. I apologize for my lack of artistry, is that everything that we see, we touch, we smell, we taste, we hear, whether it's through our nose, whether it's through our eyes, whether we feel it on our skin and our ears, all of that information is routed through our brainstem. All of it's routed right through the brainstem. And because that's a really critical piece of information, it doesn't enter the brain up here. No, it's all routed through the brainstem. So in essence, it follows this pattern, if you will, of how things function. And so we have to really follow this sequence of how things work. And so because that pattern works that way, I want to sort of evolve and create this. Now, what's really cool is that this is also the same sequence that the brain evolves when, if you believe in evolution, this is how we evolved. Started with this brainstem, but it's also, if you look at an embryo in the womb, the first part of the brain is this thing called the reptilian brain. Or it's also the basal ganglia, reptilian brain. Now, the reptilian brain is in charge of all your autonomic functions, your breathing, your heart rate, your digestion, all the things that need to happen for you to survive. And so because it carries that burden of survival, it also carries another authority, which is full control. And it's given 3 tools: the fight, flight, freeze response. So those 3 elements there, if it's, so let's say you're threatened with a bear in the woods, you're either going to run for your life, fight for your life, or hold still and maybe the bear won't see you. And so when we look at that fight, flight, freeze response, the way that measures that is through this thing called the reticular activating system. I write in detail about this in my book. The reticular activating system, or the RAS, is really a radar, and it really determines what we pay attention to. In a lot of sales environments, the term RAS is used because that's where branding comes into play. That's where we really start being top of mind awareness. And so in some places they'll call it the reticular activator. It's really the reticular activating system is the accurate term. So a real simple example would be is if you ever bought a new car, and you thought you were the only one with that car. You were so excited, the color and the make and the model, and you get off the lot and all of a sudden you start seeing that same damn car everywhere. And you're thinking to yourself, but I thought I was the only one that had this thing. No, everybody else does. Nope, it's not even that. You just now are paying attention to them. You have a category that's ready and paying attention in your visual field, where before you didn't have a category, it didn't have relevancy, so your selective attention didn't choose to pay attention to it, and it went away. And so this also plays into people that are pessimists and optimists. A pessimist is going to constantly look for the negative, and the reticular activity system is going to point out all the negative things that are happening. And lo and behold, wow, because it points out all the negative things, they start constructing a reality that seems to be negative. Versus the optimist might see opportunity everywhere. And all of a sudden they start constructing a reality of opportunity and positivity. And so understanding how we construct reality is a very, very important part of this process. So the reticular activating system actually looks at, more importantly, stress. And says, okay, let's measure stress on a scale of 1 to 10. And if I measure stress on a scale of 1 to 10, and 10 being, let's say, death, if it measures a level 10 death, stress, it has the ability to shut off cortical access to anything higher in the brain. And so all sugar is now beginning to be metabolized at our primitive level. The reptilian brain they call it reptilian because reptiles have this brain. Reptiles are pre-verbal. There's no language centers. There's no bonding. Have you ever seen reptiles bond? They don't. They don't go in packs. Imagine a herd of iguanas, a pack of iguanas coming after you, a pack of alligators coming after you. That'd be the scariest thing on the planet. No, they work individually. Thank God I can separate them out and I only have to take one at a time. But if they were working as teams, woo-wee, that'd be scary. No, they don't. They don't bond. They don't have connections. They don't have the ability to care. So they're reptiles. They're cold-blooded. So when we are under this level 10 stress, we take on a lot of those same attributes. We don't listen the same. Words don't calm us down. Think about your spouse and maybe they're upset and you say, honey, let's think rationally about this. Does that work? No, it doesn't work. And so, well, Natalie, you're one step ahead of me. That's where we're going next, is the limbic system. And the limbic system is where we get all of those beautiful things. But right now, in this primitive side of us, we don't have logic, language. We don't have any of the things that make us human. And so when we are in and under a lot of stress, we are in what we call reptilian brain. Another way of saying that is system 1. And so now, as we begin to evolve, we get into this next part of the brain called the limbic system that Natalie was just talking about. And the limbic, that was just really poorly written. I apologize. Let's make that a little bit better. The limbic. Maybe I can do this. Limbic. There we go. Limbic system. And now the limbic system has 3 major functions. One, it's the place where we have our emotions. It's also the home of our values center. And it's a gateway to long-term memory, LTM, long-term memory. And so think about how powerful this part of the brain is for a minute. It's our emotions, our values, and long-term memory. One, this is how we decide what we remember. That's kind of critical. If you need referrals, you want a brand, you want to be remembered, top of mind awareness, you want somebody to remember to call you back, memory is huge here. What we remember, memories, so like our favorite things, your first kiss, when your baby was born, all those things are memories. This is a critical part of the brain. But our values, think of how powerful our values are and emotions. And this part of the brain has 35,000 times more neurons. Okay? More neurons. Those are neurons. Okay? That's the worst neuron I've ever drawn in my life. 35,000 times more neurons that fire when we make a decision versus our logical centers. If you don't believe me, have you ever seen somebody in love with the wrong person? Yeah. You ever try to talk them out of it? You ever try to talk somebody out of their church? Because the limbic system is what joins a church, joins a team, what falls in love, hates, joins the Ku Klux Klan. This is a deep thing. This is the same part of the brain that chooses Android versus iPhone. You ever try to have that discussion? PC versus Apple? Not a fun one. And it's not logical, okay? And so it's very, very powerful. And when you're selling something or persuading or getting somebody to make a big decision, you have to overcome this part of the brain and trigger it and get it on your side. It is just power. Not good or bad. It's just power. So this is the part of the brain that Hitler tapped into, that Fidel Castro tapped into, but also Gandhi and Nelson Mandela. And so Mother Teresa. It's a very, very powerful part of who we are. And so you have to be able to understand when I'm dealing with another human, whether from stage, in a group, one-on-one, a child, this is what they're functioning. And so now, if we're going to the next piece, we're going to get into this blue area, which makes up about 80% of our brain. It's called the neocortex. And so the neocortex is the last part of the brain to develop. Learning, logic, language, problem solving, all the things that sort of make us human. It's that wrinkly gray matter that you see, right? This is the wrinkles in the brain, right? And so all that wrinkly gray matter is really what makes us human. Now, the challenge, though, with this part of the brain is that it's a slave to the reptilian brain. Meaning, if for some reason stress is happening, we shut off this, that means that we don't get access to language, learning, and logic. We don't get access to our values and emotions. Imagine dealing with somebody that isn't there. You ever tried to sell a product or communicate something that you knew was really good for them and they just weren't paying attention? Yeah, that's because they were in reptilian. They didn't trust. Somebody asked earlier about, well, what about connection versus data and information? I said, well, we have to follow the sequence of the brain to be able to really, truly hone in on what's going on and to be able to get there. And so that's about the connection and building trust. And so for us to be able to do that, we have to be able to answer a question. If we want access to these parts of the brain and bring them back to life, we know that each one of these brain systems, there's another one over here. And over here, we call this the prefrontal lobe. This is part of the neocortex, but we're going to talk about that prefrontal lobe in a minute. So I'm going to put these questions, let's put them in purple. So there's a test that each of these brains asks as you're going through this. And you have to be able to answer each one of those questions to be able to go further through it. And so the good news is that each one of those questions is only one question. And so the reptilian brain is very selfish and it asks the question of, am I safe? Am I safe? It's focused on the I. Am I safe? You should be writing these things down. And so your values and your why, absolutely, Brian. And so am I safe? Meaning three things: structure, order, predictability, SOP. Those are the things that really create safety. And now we're talking about psychological safety, because this was designed for physical safety, right? If you see a bear in the woods, you're not going to sit back and think, oh, well, let's think about strategy. No, we're going to get the hell out of there. Fight, flight, or freeze. That trumps everything else, because your first goal of the brain is to survive, and the reptilian brain is in charge of that. And it hits all of your autonomic systems and your adrenaline. It just takes over, and it can be taking over your body before you're even consciously aware of it for up to 5 to 7 seconds. And then you're consciously aware that you're defensive. So we wear that defensiveness on our sleeves. So now once we have that reptilian brain, we've created safety. The limbic system asks the question of, do you care? Can you see that? I'll just put it here. Do you care? Now it's about us. Reptilian is about me. Now we evolve into mammals. Mammals tend to herd together and they pack and they flock. They come together in groups. You can pet a dog and it knows, because it has a limbic system. Alligator doesn't have a limbic system, so it doesn't respond to your touch in the same way that a dog would. And so when we think about the intelligence of a horse, right? That's crazy. Or even the intelligence of a mammal, let's say a dolphin. They're very, very smart. And so they have the ability to care. Do you care about me? Very big question. So now These are the gatekeepers. If I know that I don't feel safe and you don't care about me, I'm not moving forward. I don't care how many techniques for influence I teach you. If you haven't learned this, and if you haven't made me feel safe and shown that you care, I'm not buying what you're selling or talking about. I'm not following you anywhere. And this right here, the pandemic threw the entire world into a tizzy here, into a feeling of not feeling safe and then not feeling valued. We were all herded together. We can go any direction with this. And so we're coming out of that. And think of the damage we've done to our kids through the process by putting them through this. Folks, we got a lot of work to do. So one of the reasons and the impetus behind this is I want to educate people on what's really going on so that we can actually do something about it and do it in a positive way, not politically. Politics aren't solving anything for me. I don't trust them anymore. We have to be the leaders. We have to be the one that understand this because we can do it with our kids and change the trajectory of what's going on. And so now, am I safe? Do you care? The next one. This is where the human comes in because there's only humans have this blue area. We're the only ones that have this. And so we ask the question of, is this interesting? Meaning we can put our attention on anything we want, but is this interesting? Does it capture my attention? And so if you think about it, does it capture my attention? I want you guys to pay attention to what it is that I'm saying, right? Just focus on me. Don't worry about the picture right now, okay? Don't worry about the picture. But why do you guys keep staring at the picture? Well, the reason you do is because it's moving. It's a fluctuating stimuli. And that stimulus is fluctuating, which captures you, and it creates novelty, which secretes dopamine, which captures your attention. That's why the old signs back in the 50s that would blink, those would be the ones like were really high level marketing at the time. And your check engine light comes on right away. It's, whoa, hold on, something's happening. But if it doesn't change at all over time, we habituate it down to the reptilian brain. Yes. And then now we don't see it anymore because it didn't create any more dopamine. The first time it did. So this part of the brain is this interesting. And the last part, this prefrontal lobe, the last part of the brain to develop, doesn't fully develop till age 25. They also call it the CEO of the brain. The future simulator asks this question of, is this inspiring? And so, Maddie, if you can make sure that Ryan is coming back up here in 2 minutes, that would be helpful. And Drew, if you can call him, Jenny, whoever gets a hold of Ryan. Thank you. So now we've got this part of the brain that's thinking of inspiration, future action. It's what we call the future simulator. And so how does the future simulator work? Very simply, I want you to think about this for a minute. Ben & Jerry's just came out with a new ice cream, and it's flavored liver and onions. Anybody want to try that? No? How many of you, show me hands there, had a visceral response of that's disgusting? Show me that. Yeah, puke. Good one, Jody. Ew, yuck. I gagged a little bit. Yep. Oh, somebody said no. Lucy. Oh, now, does you like liver and onions? Who knows, right? And so the reality is you didn't even taste it, but you responded as if you did. And so why? What happened? Your future simulator went out into the future, put those ingredients together, pulled from your past experience to give you a visceral response to tell you if this was something you wanted to do or not. This is happening all the time with every decision that we make. We have to decide whether something is something we want to pay attention to or if we want to be repelled by it. And so this whole process of how this future simulator works is critical to understanding how we make decisions. And so let's recap just a little bit here and what's happening. So here we have the triune brain theory, and you have 4 critical questions. And I wrote about this in my book on the 4 steps to influence. And these 4 steps to influence start with the foundational metaphor of how our brain functions. In our reptilian brain, asking the question of, is this safe? Think about when you're communicating. What is this recent book that he's referring to? Sorry, I wrote a book. I thought I told you guys. I wrote a book called Amplify Your Influence. Not trying to sell it today, but hey, since you asked, here's what it is. Somebody can put a link in there, amplifybook.com. I wrote about it in there. And what I'm talking about here, these are concepts that all come from that book and the journey that we're going to take you on here in a minute. And so, am I safe? If you're about to communicate a message, is this message going to drive people and drive their stress level high? If so, they're not feeling safe and they're not listening. There's number 1. How do we show that we care about people and value them in the process, right? How do we value them? And then thirdly, how do we make this interesting and engaging? Interesting and engaging. And lastly, how do we inspire? So the question is, how do we inspire? This is how this works. How do we ensure that our future actions, and this is where inspiration comes into play, that there's a cortical connection between your prefrontal lobe and the limbic system, specifically to where your values are located. And so when we think about, is the prefrontal lobe subject to addiction such as checking email? Absolutely. That's so much even it's prefrontal. It's also habitual at a very, very low level. That's a dopamine problem. Okay, so there's a lot of issues that are all happening at the same time. And so this connection between future action and our value system, if you want to inspire people, you've got to get them back in touch with what their values are. Go back to what Julia and Sam and what it is that we created with them and how we got them to be able to push forward through those moments. Julia wanted to give up, yet she didn't give up. She remembered one of her values was hard work, and she just kept pushing and kept persevering and kept going through that. Are you going to be able to pull that one up? You're on your...
What's that?
No,
What do you want?
oh, I can't see that. Okay, I can't see the top part. Just lower it if you can, or just raise that up for me. Sorry, guys, we're just a little technical. I'm just too tall. I can't see all of it. Yeah, perfect. There you go. And so as these things come together, those 4 steps, is this caring? Number 1. Sorry, step. Am I safe? Is this caring? Is it interesting? Is it inspiring? Or how do I create safety? How do I show people that I care? How do I make this truly engaging and appealing, like all of these colors? That's one way. And then how do I inspire people to take action? Those are those 4 steps that sort of come together. And in the book, in the process, we put all those together into this Amplify formula, which is what I want to show you guys and take you guys on the next step. I know we're coming to the end of this here, but there's this, I'm telling you, I wish we could create mastery in a webinar like this. This is a 30-year journey that I've been able to distill down into something here, but I'm telling you, there is so much more to learn, so much more that is possible when we do this. And so, what does it say? Not affiliate, not working with Renee yet. His book is research on the webinar. Yeah, so there's only a few of our teammates on there, my wife and Jenny, and some of those other people. Everyone else are either clients or whatever, but yeah, this is good. I guess it says people saying good things. That's a really positive thing. So what are your thoughts on this? Tell me, what do you guys think? Give me just in your words here. What are you seeing in here? And is this making sense, especially with those 4 pieces? Use some common sense when it is that we approach these things, because that's when we start seeing, that's when we start really creating the value. Can we slide it over here maybe? No, that's over here. Maybe I'll slide this way. It's not mirrored. Visual is very powerful. Hopefully, by the way, do you want to take a screenshot of this? You guys are welcome to. My beautiful drawing. Let me do this way. If you guys want to take a screenshot, there you go. Screenshot away. Take it. Run with it. Maybe I'll even sign my name to it. Hold on a second. Let me slide it over here. What color should I sign my name? Let's go pink. Right here. There we go. This is my artwork. Horrible, Ryan. What do you think?
Beautiful.
Horrible. Pink for sure. It's one of my favorite colors, by the way. Makes my skin look darker. And so, yeah. All right. So when we're looking at this element, what I want you guys to really walk away with on this is that there is a process to this. There's a science, and there's a way to do this. And so I want to share a couple pieces with you. Here we go. So during our time together, and in the session I've shared with you a proven formula, a process, and a methodology that I've spent years refining. And the goal is that it's been resulting in, for our clients, in massive success. Now you possess that formula and all the immense power that it holds. You now have the knowledge to wield influence in a way that surpasses most others, captivating people's attention and driving them to take action. That's the goal of all of this. I hope today I unveiled the secrets of influence, tapping into the fascinating realm of what we call neuroscience, making it approachable so something you can hold on to. We walked through 3 case studies. Those case studies where we talked about first Megan and her facial expressions, went into Sam in the study so you can understand how influence works from somebody like Sam to somebody like Julia, and how even the unconscious processes affect us, and that science of influence can seamlessly create higher conversion. Sorry, fix my microphone. And that conversion, when we're talking about conversion, really conversion in your selling, conversion in people buying into what it is you're talking about, converting people into listening to a new idea. Sometimes, unfortunately, it's converting people to see themselves fully and move away from suicide, move away from depression. We have to think about how we can take what we know and start impacting people. I've provided you with this process so you can share in sharing your content in a manner that creates deep commitment and connection with your audience. Hopefully making it difficult for them to say no to your message. If you believe in your message, if you truly, truly believe in your message and you think you have something good to say, then you should look for every possible edge that you can find to make it very difficult for people not to see the positive way out of the situation that they're in. Now, just like any power, it can be overused. It can be overused, it can be abused. But I'm pretty confident that the people on this call that have selected and opted into this don't come from that place. They come from a better place. You now possess the 4-part formula that simplifies what I believe to be the most challenging aspects of influencing others. The reptilian brain, showing people that they're creating safety, caring about people, making it interesting and engaging, allowing you to easily position your ideas, your products, your services in the best possible light. This newfound approach, the goal is to enable you to understand and truly appreciate the value that you offer. I want you to think about that for a minute. You've put so much energy and attention on building the value of who you are. We try to raise our kids to see the value of who they are. And yet when it comes to ourselves, we don't give ourselves the same. We don't give ourselves the same chance. We don't push it ourselves the same way we would want somebody to push our kids to find the true nature of who they are. But when we can push through that awkwardness that we so much avoid, when we want to give up and feel defeated like Julia, if we can push forward just a little bit more, I promise you the results are greater success, deeper impact, and yes, it's okay. You'll make more money as well. I've also tried to instill the confidence to help you transition seamlessly from educating to influencing. And there is a huge difference from educating to influencing. A lot of times we educate people and we tell them things, but people don't act on them. Doctors tell us that we need to lose weight and eat healthier, but we don't take the action steps necessary. If we're selling a product, or if we're teaching something, or if we're really just communicating, or maybe we're trying to influence up to our boss and educate him as to why we matter, but they haven't acted upon it. That means we haven't been able to trigger that elusive goal of influence. And even if selling isn't your objective, this still matters to you. And so throughout our time together, I've shared tactics, tricks, and simple but yet powerful techniques that can immediately be incorporated into every single interaction you have with people, with the goal of amplifying your results and enhancing your personal and professional success. So even though I've shared all this during our limited time together, I've only just exposed you to these ideas. And this is where it's hard for me, because my goal is to help you get to mastery. And a mere exposure through a webinar doesn't achieve this. Now, some of you I may never see again. And my hope is that you have something you can take and apply immediately. But this is not mastery of these ideas. And so in the beginning, or I would say that this right now might be getting towards the end of the workshop, but this is the beginning of this journey for you towards mastering the science of influence and leveraging the power that you have inside. It's now your turn to put this knowledge into practice, unlocking the incredible potential that lies within you. And so as part of my test for myself, I want to ask you six questions. Sort of my way of doing an audit of what my goals were, maybe my own assessment of how I did today. And I'm doing this because no matter what happens, I want you to embrace this journey for yourself. And so grab your keyboards. I'm going to ask you a few questions. And here's the first one. Did this webinar provide you valuable insights and strategies that you can apply in your your professional and your personal life? Thank you. It means the world to see that. That was one of my big goals. My second question is, were you able to grasp the power of influence and its impact on driving behavior change, which I believe is the most important change we can go after, is that true behavior change? I love it. Thank you. Thirdly, did you feel or do you feel equipped with practical techniques to enhance your communication and your persuasion skills. Practical. This is great. Oh, this is fantastic. Thank you. When we created this, I started with these 6 questions and we worked our way backwards. Next one. Are you excited to implement the knowledge and the strategies that you've shared during our webinar together and our time together with the goal of amplifying your influence and achieving what I would say to be exceptional results? Yes. Now, next question. Do you feel that by having these tools and skills that you will be able to make more money, have a greater impact on the world around you? It's okay to do both. Money is an important part of the equation. It's not everything, but it's a big part of it. And lastly, if you were ever to put into practice what you've learned today and start reaping all of those benefits, when do you think the best time to start would be? So glad to hear you say that. I want this to be different, folks. I don't want you just to come on here and leave and not do something. I want you to do something. Now, here's the hard part, and here's what I know. That even if I had 4 hours together instead of these 90 minutes that we've had, it's still just an exposure to the process that should be a lifelong journey. Exposing you to something that is lifelong isn't enough. And as good as I'd like to think that I am at teaching this work, unfortunately, one webinar isn't going to create the lasting change that you want in your life and the change that you deserve. You need more of that. While I've given you what I've given you today, my hope was incredibly valuable to you. And as many of you have told me here in the chat, it's only the tip of the iceberg now, which is why I'm actually so excited. You get it giddy for what I have in store for those who want to go further with this beyond our brief encounter. Before doing this webinar, I was faced with one of 2 questions. And those are tough questions. And we sat long and hard as we were creating these. And the first one is that I could share what I've got and share what I've shared with us this far. And at the end, like most of the times I've done, is part ways with you and hope and pray and cross my fingers that you're going to go out there and implement and create value on your own. And for some of you, that's what we're going to do. Or my second option was that I could take a more active role and take responsibility for your success. Truly take responsibility for your success and create a situation where our relationship could evolve beyond the one and done encounter that we're going through right now to an ongoing, growing, and mutually rewarding relationship. Something that would reap benefits for the years to come, creating life change that I love to see. The same changes you saw at Sam and Julie and the hundreds, if not thousands, that we've worked with in the same process. I hope you can understand that the choice was very simple. I chose the second one. And when you see what I have in store for those that want to go further with this, I'm pretty confident that you'll be glad that I did. And so I want to bring Drew back on stage. And before I do that, to really reveal to me what I'm here to talk about, one of my most exciting projects. With great pleasure, I get to reveal to you what we call the Amplify Immersive Neuroleadership Journey. The Amplify Neuroleadership Journey. And I think I have a picture of it here. Yes, we do. Do we have it in there? There we go. So the Amplify Immersive 13-week Neuroleadership Journey. Yes, 13 incredible weeks where we break down all chapters of the book in detail. I get to dive deep like what you saw here, where it's not just an exposure to each piece. I get to go deep into every single aspect of what it takes to create those results. And in those 13 weeks, not only are we going to have a year's worth of coaching, so we're going to do the education and we're going to give you the coaching to help you implement this in a co-learning group coaching environments, kind of how you felt, where you felt the stress of watching others and you grow too. We get a chance to immerse ourselves in this process and supported by an incredible community. So we have education, implementation, and community to do that. And also for those that want to take the community even further beyond our groups, online groups, we're also going to give you a ticket to our AmpCon event, which is in Dallas, Texas on October 26th. And so to go through this, and for those of you who want to right away, go ahead and you can book an appointment with our team. I've got a team and actually a time with our vice president of engagement. We have set aside time slots for every single person that is on here for those that want to learn more about it. Because here's the thing, it is not for everyone. It's not for everyone. In fact, I wanted to kind of write this down because this was something that was really important to me. This mentorship program isn't for everyone. And here's why I say that. One, this is not a pre-recorded course for you to passively kind of listen to. This is a true mentorship journey with live calls that you got to invest your time, your energy, and yes, your money into, just like I am. This costs me money. This costs you money. And together we create value together. So what I've done is allowed time for every single person on this webinar to book a free one-on-one call with our Vice President of Enrollment to discuss if this is a fit for you or not. And so if you feel it's a fit, I'm gonna go back here. Go to the QR code. We also have, can you guys, okay, did somebody put the link in there? Maddie, can you not do the book, and can you actually do the link to the to what we're talking about here? For those of you who want to do that, do this. And so that's the link. Oh, it says Amplify book. Is it, as long as it's the right one, we're good. We're testing it right now. Is that the right one? Yep, we're good. Wonderful. Good. What you're going to get there is a calendar, book an appointment. But as we're doing this, we're going to bring Drew back on, because what I want to dive deep into what those chapters are and have some questions on, if you have questions for me, we're going to spend a few minutes. Can you bring Drew back up? Or audio. I think Drew, you just turn on your audio and maybe ask me some questions on what it is, because I want Drew to sort of interview me a little bit and draw out what those pieces are. We're going to have some, what do we cover over those 13 weeks? That's what we're going to cover right now. And so again, those of you, by the way, here's the thing, the spots are limited. And so, hopefully everyone gets a spot, but I know that the truth is we've got, over 1,000 people that signed up and people that are actually already going to be watching the replay of this. And so I don't think we have 1,000 spots. I'd love to get it to 1,000 people. So we do have limited spots, but I think enough for those that want to buy. So please make sure, thank you, Natasha, for checking that. If you do want to do this, go ahead and get your time booked right now. It is not an obligation. It is a free discovery call to see if this whole program works for you. But Drew, questions, and how do we want to dive into this? And based on what you've seen out there, what are your thoughts initially?
Yeah, so this is really exciting. So I think what's important to understand is the big picture of this. And, I've worked with a lot of people and a lot of the big gurus in the world. And, what they're really good at is waking people up, right? And you are to an extent too, of course. And we all need to be woken up sometimes and motivated and painted these big pictures of what is possible with our lives. But the missing 50% I find with most things is a lack of implementation, right? It's a lack of actually like boots on the ground. What do I do with this motivation, right? It's one thing to be woken up and motivated. It's another thing to know how to implement and where to go with it. And I think that that's what sets this program apart for me entirely, is that this program is going to show you how to viscerally learn exactly what you're doing so that you can get your message across in absolutely any context. And like you said, this is a 13-week journey, but it's more than that, right? There's 13 weeks of a 1 hour of you going deep into each chapter of your book. On top of that, there's a year of coaching where it's 2 calls a month. So you have your 1 hour a week with Renee, and then you also have the twice a month, implementation coaching on top of that. Plus, what we're going to be giving you is a ticket to AmpCon so that everybody who's a part of this journey will be able to come together in person and really be able to solidify the learnings and really come together. And to me, that's what's important, is that it's the whole spectrum. It's the education, it's the implementation, and then it's the community. So I would encourage everybody to scan the QR code on the screen right now or go to the link on the right and book the free call. Normally this isn't something, normally we're trying to sell something and there's somewhere to go buy. We're not trying to sell you something right now. What we're trying to do is show you guys what we have to offer and allow you the time to get on a discovery call with somebody on the team to really help articulate your goals and values to make sure that this program's right for you. Because what Renee does impeccably is create phenomenally value-driven journeys for everybody. And right now, I think that this is the most impactful thing that I've seen. So, Renee, normally this is something, this content that you're teaching, this 13-week journey, is normally something you do in like a 2-day in-person. Is that correct?
Normally it's a 2-day in-person event. And even in the 2-day in-person event, we can't go as deep. This is where even those who have been through the 2-day are actually, we've talked to a bunch of our past clients, are actually going to be doing this course as well, because after those 2 days, we had somebody that went 11 times to the 2-day course because they wanted to dive deep into what was going on. And so, yes, normally it's a 2-day course. This is going to be a much more immersive journey for people to go through. The program is 13 weeks, and it's meaning every week is going to be a new lesson. And then you get a year's worth of coaching to put all that into play. And yes, the calls will be recorded, and they all will be recorded.
So
can I show that piece? How do I show it on this end?
So 13 weeks of what people are normally taught in 2 days. So you get the opportunity to go even deeper with some more time to let the learnings, really kind of settle in. And then on top of that, you're offering an entire year of implementation coaching calls where people get to really use the education. Is that correct?
Yes, absolutely. And so here's the breakdown of the brochure of what it is. I can't control it, can I? Oh, with the mouse. Okay, the mouse here. So obviously I'm the one training it, but there's in this Drew, do we want to just give them this? Put a link to this in there?
Maybe shortly. I don't think we'll drop it in the chat right now. I just don't think we're set up for it. But yeah,
I don't have a link to it. So yeah, I don't think you can do it through chat anyways. But we're gonna go through, this is the breakdown of each one. We're gonna talk about the power of influence. And this goes back into sort of the initial research behind it and the thinking and the rationale behind it. Go into the hidden drivers. This is where we really get into the secrets, and people are talking about Jedi mind tricks and things like that. And then in detail around the sequence. This is more research, but applied research around sequencing, not just the hidden drivers to build awareness of what's going on, but you're going to be learning about what is the sequence to drive things and how most of the things we were taught were done in the wrong sequence, in the wrong process. We take you on a really deep self-discovery journey and self-awareness journey. And all of my training over the years, the number one thing in the best leadership training departments in the world always come down to self-awareness. It's the first thing that has to happen. And this is where we really start developing the ethics behind influence. And people start realizing so many beautiful things about themselves, things about their kids and how they perform. There's so many things that are happening in this self-awareness discovery. Then we move into the formula, because that's around the concept. Now we move into the formula. And the formula, at the core of that formula is what we call framing. And go back to Julia and Sam, and they went into the frame was their personal story, their origin story. And that origin story framed up who they were and gave us an understanding of how they function and how they think. And so frames in action, this would be how we take frames and put them into work. So we're going to be really implementing these different pieces. Then we get into how do we create messages and deliver concepts and create value propositions. It's such a critical piece of this because, that's really what you're trying to deliver. The goal of this isn't to frame. The goal is to deliver a message of value. But without the frame, we don't hear the message. And then the tie down, which is what we call the secret weapon of the master influencer. This is a skill set you will not learn anywhere else in the world. This is something that when we were writing the book, they're like, well, let me research about tie downs. I'm like, there isn't anything. This is not something that's available. It's literally only in the book. Now, that doesn't mean that other people don't do it. But the term and the methodology of the tie down is something you will get from here. And then we get into the skills of storytelling, the true art and the science of it. We get deep into the body language components, interpersonal communication, what we call love, the love technique, listen, observe, validate, expand. Because most of us are going to be influencing interpersonally. And then we're going to dive deep into stress and how stress can get away from it, and realizing that stress reduction is also a skill. And then we're going to put it together in some real life examples and help you come away with strategies for that. And so with all of that, we're going to go into detail on each one of these sessions, and all of our coaching dives deep into the application of how all of this stuff works. And so let me unshare this if you would, and put back perfect. And so it goes deep into all of those different elements. Questions Other questions?
Yeah, what I would like to know is who is this for? Like if you were to look over everybody who you've gone and transformed with this Amplify method, like I'm thinking about Sam and the other case studies that you had at the beginning of this, who else would benefit from this? I don't want people to think that this is just something for somebody who wants to do a TED Talk or something like that, but how does this apply to like business professionals?
So this applies, to me, it applies to every single human being. Think about a life without influence. You walk in a room, nobody notices. You tell a joke, nobody laughs. You share ideas, nobody cares. You cast a vision and no one follows. You sell products and no one buys. It's a feeling of feeling invisible and insignificant. And I would venture to say it's the worst of human experiences. I think anybody has had that feeling, whether you're a school teacher, whether you're a police officer, whether you're a student. We work with kids all the time. You could be a stay-at-home mom or stay-at-home dad. You could be somebody going through a personal transition and you want people to understand something. You could be a politician. It doesn't matter. Part of life is influencing the world around us. And so now when it comes to the business environment, obviously, if you're in a sales environment, you need to persuade and influence people to see your brand and to buy into your product. It's great. If you're in recruiting and you need people to see your company and why your company is the place that they want to transition to and helping them make that transition, influence is there. If you're a leader trying to mobilize people to take action around strategy, influence is at the core of that. If you're influencing investors to invest in you or to have confidence in your company, this is influence. Just yesterday, I trained over 100 people getting ready to lobby in Washington, D.C. on how to tell personal stories. We had congressmen and congresswomen coming up there and some of the best lobbyists in D.C. coming up saying the number one thing you can do to get listened to is tell a personal story. It came right from them. So this is for anybody that has to create action in their personal lives and professional.
So what about for anybody who's wondering, like, I understand the sequence and the how to get the message across and that this is an incredibly powerful methodology, but what about to the people who are genuinely like afraid to talk in front of a group, even of 5 people? Is this method something that can help me with, say, my stage fright or public speaking? Is that also what this helps with?
Absolutely. And that's where the stress factor comes into play, is it the stage fright. It's somebody, Maddie, can you help Daniel? He's having a hard time booking an appointment. I think these are booking up pretty fast. Stage fright, absolutely, because the secret weapon of high performance is breathing. Anybody who's in the NBA, a Navy SEAL, somebody who's in the NFL, somebody who speaks in front of thousands of people, a leader, a CEO, the know-how factor at that level, everybody's the same. But it's the person who performs under pressure is the one that's going to perform. And so when you're getting to a stage, or you're even whether the stage is 5 people or 5,000 people, it doesn't matter. The stress component is the same in how that limbic system and the reptilian brain function. And so we will be teaching you very specific methodologies to overcome that, and also helping you reframe that moment so that you don't respond the same way. And you can show up just like Julia did when she was so nervous. Remember how tightened she was? And then she showed up and she was shining. The reason she was shining is she was coming from a different place, what we call expression versus impression. And helping people get to that place is a lot easier than you would think. So yes, absolutely, we'll be addressing all of those things.
That's incredible. That's awesome. So how would you say this differentiates? So say if I was to just buy, your book and read your book through and learn about how to communicate and learn about your sequence, what would be different with this 12-week immersion? Like, are you going to be like actually talking through each chapter, explaining it, and then helping us contextualize it by allowing everybody to ask questions in these calls as well?
I'm going to be doing a lot more than talking through the chapter. I'm going to be bringing each chapter to life. And so this would be, in essence, taking the book and turning it into a real life person for 13 weeks. And we've designed each one of the sessions to be an hour. So this is something that you can commit to, but it is something that you want to make sure that you set aside the time for. But yes, I will be bringing each one of those chapters to life. There'll be homework that's applicable. I want you to bring your business to each one of the sessions so that you can actually get work done through what you're learning. I really, truly want to drive towards results with each one of these. That's why we've designed it this way.
Great. Rick's asking about getting in more specific advice and guidance about in-persons or seminars. So I think this is a really good chance to talk about AmpCon. With this, you're also giving away a free ticket to your event, your yearly event, AmpCon. Can you tell us what that's about and what to expect?
Yeah, in fact, I'm just going to play a really short video on AmpCon. It's this really short. So AmpCon's our annual event where a lot of our past clients, a lot of leaders, in fact, the most leaders, celebrities, a lot of celebrities that I work with, a lot of the big names, they come, we spend a day together. Here's a brief of what it looks like.
I just before you recap about that, Annie, I just want to let you know the team is pinging me. We are like really filling up on spots. So if anybody is interested in booking a call, the QR code that you see, you can scan and it'll pop it up on your phone, or in the chat, you can see Jenny's posting and George is posting a link. Go there and grab your call now. Renee was able to set up free calls. We just didn't know how many people were going to take them. And it seems like a lot of people are taking them. So I would jump and grab your time right now. Sorry, Renee, carry on.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. So that's a hint, a glimpse inside of what AmpCon looks like. It's such a powerful event. And this year we have some of the coolest people that are coming. I'm telling you, you're going to get a free ticket to this with this journey. And people are asking me, what's the cost of this? But folks, we have anything that's from $99 a month all the way up to $15,000 to even $150,000 that we work with. And so this is why we're trying to figure out what works for you and truly take a discovery for you to be able to ask your questions and see if this works for you. So yeah, please just set up a call, get that link. You're going to love working with our team. They're pretty amazing people. I think how are we doing, Drew? Any other questions you can think of?
I think we're at time. And I see a lot of people are jumping. So I would just ask anybody who's left on the call, there's still a couple hundred people. What questions do you have? Like,
what questions?
Yeah, what questions do you have for Renee?
Thanks, James. I appreciate
it. Another thing to ask would be, how could Renee better serve? I think a lot of people are afraid to ask that question. And I think it's something that Renee would thrive on, and something for us
absolutely
to think in terms of content and journeys that we can make for everybody is what would best serve you. And if you're thinking,
I learned a long time ago that I exist to serve this community. And somebody I went to a keynote and they said, thanks so much for coming. And I looked at them, I said, thank me. I said, do you know how silly I look on that stage with an empty audience? I said, thank you. This is a two-way street here. And so, one, I exist to serve you guys. My credibility is owned by you. If I don't do well, you can take all of that credibility away. That is one of the most beautiful and humbling experiences I can even begin to express. And so when Drew asks that question of how can I best serve, please, I'd love to hear this. Feedback is always helpful, and thoughts, questions. What other things do you want me to dive into? We can create other journeys. This is the Amplify immersive 13-week journey, but we have other things that we can create as well. Do we know what day we'll have the call and approximate time? I only ask because I have a few standing appointments. I think you have to click the link. It says MPound, and you'll be able to schedule your own time. AmpCon is one day, Keith. In a world that's tough, we know it's relevant to believe. I am a believer. I've been for years. Thank you, Michael. I appreciate you, my brother. I really do appreciate it. Tracy, I'm ready to dive into 13 weeks. I've helped with my origin story of so many people in my life. Now it's my turn. Thank you, Tracy. I appreciate it. Is that which Tracy? Everman? Tracy, which Tracy? The class, I've already booked my call. Wonderful. Is it M Pound? What's your first name, M Pound? Do I know who you are? Yeah, and there's a Michelle. Thank you, Michelle. There's when you click the link, there's also another video there that kind of guides you through some of these pieces. So if you wanted to show somebody some of these elements, I go through at least some of the testimonials and some of the stories in the little video that's there. David Kelly, thank you, man. Appreciate you. How could you summarize your steps that you've mentioned? So think about 4 steps. First one, am I safe? Am I safe, or is this safe? Do you care? Do I care? Is this interesting? Is it interesting? Am I inspiring? Is it inspiring? Safety, caring, interest, inspiration. What's the biggest challenge you see the people you work with on programs like this? I'd say the biggest challenge is commitment. I can't make people commit, but I can ensure that you won't fail. That is something for sure. I can't make the commitment, but and trust me, those that work with me, I don't allow you to fail. I will stalk you. I will find you. We had somebody that left halfway through our course, and I stalked them and found them. And I personally worked with them until they found their result. They didn't feel like they belonged in that room, and that was bullshit. They absolutely belonged in that room. And so the commitment is what you have to make. My job is to ensure and to guarantee the success. And I exist for this. This is my purpose. This is why I am here. I'm crystal clear about that. So if I can't do that, I'm not okay taking money. Period. Biggest challenge, I think, Andre, it's the commitment. Thank you, Craig. I appreciate it. Daniel, thank you, sir. Thank you, Turna. Past Amplify, which James is this? How can Renee serve better? Ongoing support and group coaching, etc. Made me really happy to see something like the 13-week rehab. Yeah, James, isn't it funny? That's the number one thing we get, and now we have our group coaching programs. We have this. It's wild. Like when I first put this together, there's the piece, and maybe that's my own limiting thinking too. If I'm transparent about it, is thinking, well, they did this. I don't want to throw other things down their throats, and they'll come back at it, but. Man, there is something that everybody is always, if you really do it, they want to go further. Everybody always wants further. And so, yeah, that's probably big. So, Hiron Gracie tomorrow, Keith, that's my boy. Please tell him Renee said hi. That's awesome. His father, actually, I coach his father in his messaging and his 2 youngest kids, Horan and Henon. And, yeah, that's fantastic. Let's see. Is it possible to have a private session? Turna, set up an appointment and we'll talk about what that might look like. Those are the harder ones to do, but I've got some ideas for you, Turna. If you can, send Maddie a message, and Turna, we'll have. I think we might have your contact information. We'll reach out and set something up. Yeah, Keith, thank you. Please give him my best. Danielle, thank you so much. Daniela, thank you so much. Thanks, Danielle. Keep pushing, Danielle. And Maddie, can you get Turna's information? Please. Other questions? Let's get selfish, folks. What can I do here? What can I do? How can I help?
So I'll say this, there's over 100 people still on this call. So that tells me that there's over 100 people that still have something they're curious about with this. So throw in the chat, everybody. We're here for you right now. Renee has put aside this time for everybody that registered for this webinar. So like you said, get selfish. Like what selfish question do you have right now based on this content? You're going to have Renee's one-on-one undivided attention. So take advantage of it.
Awesome. And Sue, who was it? There was a question over here that I saw. We talked about in the UK time slots. Natasha, if not, please just reach out to us directly at maddie@meetrenee.com. If for some reason we'll get you set up. James Carlson, small team coaching. Yes, we have all sorts of things. Set up a call and we'll get that set up. We've got, when I look at coaching and small teams coaching, we look at what your objective is and what we're trying to achieve, and then how can we design something for you. Thank you, Suzanne, for getting the book too. That's awesome. Barry, thank you. You follow on social media. Yeah, make sure you follow us too. Can't imagine experiencing you for a day or two. That's awesome. Barry, we put a lot into it. I appreciate that. It's the in-person is pretty powerful. This immersive leadership journey is pretty awesome. We put a lot into it. Maddie, please see Turna's email there. Is there? That's critical for Renee, so I'm still here. Kim, thank you. I appreciate it. Please ask any questions. Who is the right person to go on this journey? Who's the right person? Oh man, what? Self-servingly, I think everyone. I've designed this to be a journey of life. And it's you can find your own application through it. And because we'll be on those coaching calls, you'll be able to ask questions and we can hone it into you. But this is designed for everyone. George, tell me about what you do. Yvonne Dominguez, please set up a meeting with Maddie. And Veronica, thank you. Will I be at NAMBA's conference in September? Not as of right now. But not as right now, but I do love NAMBA. Any future Orgle events? Gonzalo, how are you, sir? I believe we've got some coming up. I know that Greg and I and Boyden, we had some other things in the mix. They're just spacing them out. But I'm a huge Orgle fan, and I love working with you guys for sure. Hey, Tiffany, thank you so much. Thanks for being here. I've sent that. Have ever targeted the motivated Hispanic culture to succeed in Spanish? Meaning, have I ever done this in Spanish? I have. It's hard. I'm probably gonna need you, Juan, to help me translate some of the words. The business Spanish is not as easy as the Spanish that I've got. That's for sure. Frank Delgadillo, how are you, man? Thanks, man. I appreciate you, brother. Did you set up an appointment, Frank? Let's get you in, man. This is right up your alley, brother. You're such a nerd and student just like me. We're going to dive in deep on this one together. Let's see. What if I find the biggest emotional bottleneck that restricts personal progress outside of fear? Probably self-doubt. Self-doubt, the people, even just in the other piece too, is thinking small. I'm as guilty of that as anyone. Is thinking small, thinking too small. And you think small because you're not around people that think big enough to expand your thinking. And the moment I start expanding my thinking is the moment I start seeing new possibility. Even one of the reasons I have Drew here is because he helped me think in this capacity to go, there's a way to do this in a way to actually give more value in a way that I can spread out. There's only, so many people that could be an Amplify. We sold out 34 Amplifies last year. That means how many people couldn't go. So I'm doing everyone a disservice by not thinking differently. And so probably thinking small. Saw you at Mastermind, Kim. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. Am I going to offer this masterclass again? I believe so. Yes. 40-year-old martial arts instructor, some memory loss, but still have drive to succeed. That's awesome, brother. Appreciate you, Keith. If it's jiu-jitsu, then you know that jiu-jitsu is helping the mind grow, making all those neural connections. The virtual course took during COVID was so impactful and been slipping. This is what I need to remind myself. That's awesome, Troy. Thank you, sir. How do I set up a meeting with Maddie? Yvonne, right there. How do you model next restriction? Okay, got to go. Thank you, Veronica. Thank you, Will. Appreciate you. Feels they don't believe they deserve to be there. How would you coach them to take a chance and sign up? Oh, if they don't believe it, just take the chance, book the appointment. The thing is, there's fears in front of us that prevent us from doing things. But then if we really think about it, turn that around to think of what's the fear behind you if you don't do it. Let the fear chase you into the meeting. What happens if you continue a life that you're not happy with for the next 3 to 5 to 10 years? You find yourself in a place where you wish you would have done it. That's what I use, is I take the fear that's in front of me and I push it behind me to drive me towards it. The fear in front of me is that what if I fail? Then I'll look stupid into the future. But then if I look back, I go, shit, I didn't do it. I'm going to have to tell people that I failed and I didn't do it. So you got to be able to put that fear behind you and move forward. Thank you, Susan. I aim to, Frank Delgadillo, I aim to. No, brother. Book the appointment, my friend. You got this, man. No aiming to do nothing. Do I help with energy? When I do the same slides over and over, I lose my energy. Tiffany, you have to remind yourself that this is people's first time seeing it. And the best thing to remember is think of your favorite song. How many times can you listen to your favorite song? Over and over and over and over again. So maybe you've done it a million times, but it might be their second time or their third or their first. Play the song with all your heart. I learned a long time ago that no matter who was in the room, I always give it $1 million presentation. Everything that I've got. Thanks, Pega. I appreciate it. Jimmy Lee, appreciate you, my friend. Thank you so much. Kim, again, thank you. Thank you. Cynthia, got to know you at Narup, Arizona. Thank you so much, Cynthia. Yeah. Hey, Patty Gardner. My gosh, no way. That's awesome. Patty and Com. Oh my God. So cool that you guys are here. So cool. You guys need to come to Minneapolis course, especially with what you guys are doing. I love that. Rick, was I born this handsome? Thanks, man. No, I actually had to work my tail off for it, and a little bit of makeup today too. The cost of inaction. Yes. James, love that. Awesome. You guys are amazing. Any other questions? Any other questions? Please. What are likely call structures during the Neuro Leadership Program? All content, have content and Q&A. So all my sessions, as you can tell, are very interactive. These will be Zoom calls, so I'll be able to see your faces. You'll be able to come up on screen. I do a lot of co-learning. I'll bring people up on the stage, up on the grid to be able to apply the learning. I'll be giving you homework. So there's a lot of different pieces. It's going to be trying to bring it to life. My 30 years is also in adult learning and accelerated learning techniques, and so I'm going to be bringing all of that to this environment. And so to give you an idea, we're going to be dropping bombs on you the entire time, right? We're going to be hopefully stimulating some new thinking. And then at the end of the day, we really got to get this brain functioning, but hopefully we'll even make you a lot of money. So yes, we're going to make these calls a lot of fun and engaging. Can you rebuild neurons after TBI? What you're talking about is neuroplasticity. Neuroplasticity. And what happens is with TBI, a traumatic brain injury, you have a damaged part of your brain. So can you replace the damaged ones? Can you fix the damaged ones? No, but neuroplasticity says that sections of the brain next to the damaged ones can take on the functions of the old. So your brain can repair itself. Thank God for neuroplasticity. Mushrooms, psilocybin, supposedly, from what I understand, are a great thing for neuroplasticity. Psilocybin is just pure serotonin, as I'm starting to learn. And so, yes, you can do that, but it's going to take effort just like anything. Awesome. Well, folks, thank you so much. I appreciate all of you. Please, please, please click the link, do the QR code, sign up, follow me, all the different things. I can't tell you how much I appreciate and love every single one of you. Stay in touch, ask questions. The team is ready to answer it. I want to see as many of you on this 13-week journey as possible. It's going to be a fun one. It's going to put everything we've got in there, and you too can experience this. I want to help you through it. So thank you, please. And I'll see you guys very, very soon.
I'd say
stay down here for a couple questions.
If you're on here, open the link now, because once we close Zoom, you won't have any of the links or the QR code. So if you're still on, I would just scan the code now or open the link in the chat. And if there's any spots available, you'll be able to book a time.
Also, if anybody missed the link and you guys want it later, we're going to email it over to you.
Thank you, everyone. All right, I think we're going to cut it off. Oh, right. There we go. Yes, George, we'll be sending out the recording. All right. Going in 3, 2, 1. Thank you all. See you soon.